cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
How about that's just what we talk about? We just talk about like how our year and stuff been.
It's recording.
Oh, it's recording now.
Yeah.
Oh well, shoot, my bad, Kwon. I didn't know we was recording.
You good. As you said.
January 2nd started out the year in a car accident. Where was it? I totaled my vehicle. You know, total loss. Scariest moment I ever been in. I was so sure that it was over. You feel me? I was so sure that it was over.
Did you see the accident coming, or did it like blindside you?
Blindside me.
Yeah, that was the crazy.
Blindside me, and sure enough, you know, I was being reckless. You feel me? The exit was here. I was here. I'm thinking, oh, that's my exit. Can't miss it. I need to be going. But at the same time, I wasn't supposed to be taking it. I wasn't supposed to be taking it, but because I usually take it, just muscle memory.
Yeah.
You know, just do it out of muscle memory. Like, oh, that's the exit. What am I doing? Took it. Got sideswiped. Tailspin. Car hit the wall. I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, so I'm flung in the car. You know, hit the passenger side, and just like kind of come to like immediately. Like, it was like maybe a minute. I was out. I come to, blood dripping from my head, glass in my head. I'm like, my leg hurting, but I can still move it. Just go through, just trying to see if I can move on my limbs. Yeah, there we go. Trying to move all my limbs, and sure enough, I could. Then from there, I'm like, okay, need to call somebody. Need to let somebody know something happened. Can't find my cell phone. Looking around, can't find it. Got the watch on my wrist. Literally, I go through, call my mom from the watch on my wrist. She don't answer. Call her fiance. He answers. I tell him what is that happened. Yo, I was on my way to work this morning. Got in this car accident. Told him where it is I was at. This and the other. He like, okay, just stay there. You hear ambulance? I'm like, yeah, I hear ambulance. I hear the other person who it is that was also involved in the accident. They they seem to be in more distress. You know, I'm hearing them like yelling, screaming in the background. Somebody help me! Somebody help me! It's like, man. But sure enough, ambulance comes. I'm able to get up out of the car, walk, move, be able to find my stuff, be able to talk to the officer, explain to them what's going on. Like, unbelievable. You feel me? At the same time, other person, they getting put into the ambulance, being taken away. Here I am. I'm like, dang, I'm about to be late for work. You know, I'm talking to my mom's fiance, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm hurting a little bit, but I'm all right. You know, like the car messed up. I can't drive the car. You know, you think you want to put me on the table? Like, you're not going to work, man. You're not going to work. You get on the ambulance, go to the hospital, make sure that everything checks out all right. Call your job, let them know what happened. You ain't going. I'm like, okay. So, sure enough, just be able to start the year like that and see where I am today, you know, just gotta be grateful. You know what I mean? Just gotta be grateful, gotta be thankful. And it just showed me, that experience showed me, even that, just being able to, you know, have a close call like that, it didn't necessarily change my mind. It didn't necessarily deter what I wanted to do this upcoming year. You know, that was a very small setback. You feel me? Didn't stop no motion. 2 days afterwards, I was right back in the gym, right back to working out like I had been, you know, up to that point. And I just feel like the whole year has been like that. Like, anytime something tried to set me back, you know, I didn't let it. You feel me? I just kept going forward, you know, and just anytime. I mean, from there, as as far as work is concerned, for whatever reason, beginning of this year, they let us know like, hey, work hasn't been what we thought it was gonna be. We're gonna have to cut y'all hours back. We're gonna have to cut your hours back. You're gonna be right there on the edge of full time. You feel me? Barely getting full time. Barely getting full time. But they was telling, they was like, listen, we don't know how long this gonna last, but just try to trust us, just try to ride it through. This is a situation where it is that I wasn't gonna really be able to afford to not be making the money that I was. And so the step back was I had to get a second job. You know, I had to work part time somewhere else for a while on top of what I was doing. So they were still wanting to get about 4 days out of us, but at less hours. You feel me? And still had to pick up that second job. So now that's working more days for less money, more hours. Went, still did it. Still did it. Was able to keep my workout schedule. As far as that's concerned, trusting my job. Certain about 6, 7 weeks, we got back on track. And they rewarded us for that. They rewarded me for that. Gave me a promotion. So it was just like when you determine to do something or your path is being laid out, there's gonna be things that try to deter you, that try to discourage you from doing what you feel you want to do. And I think that as long as you keep on it, you feel me, the faithfulness will come through. Things will work out for you. Um, I'm talking to the universe. Universe be in line. You aligned with it, it'll show that it's aligned with you. So, um, yeah, that's going from January to about April. Uh, then I guess I go to June. Um, I had a situation where I met this woman. Um, she's been amazing. Up to this point, we still rocking together. It seemed like we're gonna finish the year together. That's a beautiful thing, and I'm grateful for her. Met her in June. Met her on Juneteenth. That's when it was that we met in person. So I felt like that was pretty fitting, pretty symbolic. You know, but aside from that, also going into July, that's when it was my mother. She moved away to be with her fiance, and I inherited my younger sister coming to stay with me. I'm now her primary caretaker, even though she is an adult, she's of age to take care of herself, but because of her MS and the lesions that she has on her brain, she has difficulties. She has physical difficulties, mental difficulties, and I I help her along the way. I make sure that all of her primary needs are taken care of. She has a place to stay. Um, she has access to communication. Food gets bought. You know, all that. Uh, Even pay for her transportation. Make sure that she can get where she needs to go. She want to go. So it was uh, it was a new financial responsibility that I inherited, but because of the promotion I had gotten earlier in the year, it was able to supplement it. It all worked together. You feel me? It worked out. Had I not stuck with my job back then, had I allowed that to discourage me or deter me, discourage me, and try to find something else, maybe I wouldn't have still been in position to be able to take on that responsibility of bringing my sister along as well. You know, um, so yeah, that was July. Man, it's been a heck of a year. It's been a heck of a year. Along with working and working out and taking care of my sister, I've still been able to just do what it is that I'm passionate about. I love music, and if I can double back to June a bit, I got to take on a new endeavor. Where was I? Started a radio show. It's unfortunate that the app is no longer there. It was really dope. I hope something else replicates what they were doing and is able to sustain what they were doing because it was gonna go places.
Yeah.
It was definitely gonna go places. But I really enjoyed that, and along with being able to do my radio show, I also was able to go to the most amount of festivals this year, music festivals this year, than I had previously. So, yes, it was three. What I was able to see, I was able to go to Dreamville in April. I went to Roots Picnic in June, and then I just finished up the year going to One Music Fest in Atlanta in October. And man, each one of them, I had a good time. Got to see all kinds of fly artists,
Yeah.
rap and R&B. You feel me? Just to name a few. Dreamville, that's J Cole, but this year is when he brought out Drake. So I got to see Drake. Saw J Cole. Saw Burna Boy. Drake brought out Wayne, 21 Savage.
Really?
I got to see all that.
Burna Boy was at that joint.
Yeah, Burna was going crazy. The women was going crazy for him. He brought them
Burna
out.
Boy dope, yeah.
He brought them out for sure. He did. And then Roots, I got to see Uzi, got to see Usher, got to see Usher at Roots. He brought out Lauryn Hill. Everybody else got to see Lauryn Hill. I didn't stay to see her. Listen, I stayed. I was there an hour and a half past time she was supposed to be there. She ain't come out. I was done for the night. I'm sorry. And the last one, and the great thing about festivals is they last all day. Them festivals they start about 12 in the afternoon and about 12 at night. So it's about 1:30 in the morning. She still ain't out there. Like I gotta go, Lauren. I gotta go. We gotta be back here the next day. You feel me? I'm trying to be here on time next day for the next set of people. So anyway, I had to leave her, but yeah. And then One Music Fest, Kendrick was a headliner. Janet Jackson.
That's the one in October.
Yeah. That's the one I just came from in Atlanta. That one was crazy. Kendrick went crazy. Janet went crazy.
Janet, my girl.
Yeah. Brent Fayez was out there. Megan Thee Stallion was out there. Brought the women out. Oh my god. So it's been a year full of up and downs, but it's been a lot of wins.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a lot of wins, a lot of forward momentum on seeds that were planted back in 2022, and man, I'm so grateful to be at this point, considering how the year started, and just not saying, "Here we go," another bad year pending. It was nothing like that. You feel me?
So you would say that you had more attention this year?
Oh, absolutely. I was more purposeful, more intentional. Just as far as affirmation, as far as manifesting things. Just speaking what it was that I wanted out of this year, and a lot of it showed up. So definitely.
It shows from the outside looking in. It shows, man.
Thank you, bro.
You got the cut. Every time I see this guy, he seems taller. Like,
hey, yo, he's cutting up and everything, man. We showed the pictures in the gym. I was like, yeah, what?
Yeah,
Get it in, man. That's what's up.
You've been consistent, and consistency always pays off. It has no choice but to. So I love to see the development, and I want to ask, like, what are you looking forward to going into the next year? Like, what's the intention for next year?
2024, definitely more consistency, but also 2024, that's going to be the year to get back to like submission. That's going to be the year to get back to servitude. That's when it is that, okay, last year I got to do a lot of what it was that I wanted to do. I got to plant these seeds as far as, what I wanted to prioritize in my own life. How is it that I can give back to others? How can I give back to serving others?
Mm.
You know, where is it that I can maybe incorporate my sister in, you know, us together being able to serve other people, being able to help others. You feel me? And so, you know, connected with y'all here in Richmond. That's a beautiful thing. Got my guy. We're rebuilding men.
Yes,
Representing.
yeah.
So I'm grateful to be able to be a bit of a brand ambassador as far as that's concerned. You know, being able to represent AIM, of course, always improving the mind. You know, we locked in. You already know. And then this gentleman right here, Mr. Robert Utley, my mentor, you know, teacher. So anything that is that he got going on, definitely gonna be repping that. Gonna be pushing and marketing it. So there's a little bit of servitude there, but I think I could go a bit deeper. Pause. In concerns to.
It started it.
It
was one I was about to go and catch you on, but you was rolling.
So. Oh man, you should have got me. You should have got me. I was trying to be. I like the pause game because it helps you be intentional about what you're saying. You feel me? You gotta actually choose your words. You know, you can't just be out there saying anything that you want. You feel me? You gotta be more purposeful with your talk. But yeah. As far as my community is concerned, what is it that I can do as far as my hometown, you know, to be more of a blessing or contribute to others or make more of a difference, make more of a presence in my own city? That's what this upcoming year is about because I don't know. I just feel as though because I'm developing this passion, it should move outward. You know, it should move outward. I think I've taken care of what I need to inwardly. It's time to move outwardly and see if I can't encourage others.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what 2024 happened.
That's dope. I like that.
There you go.
Which way we going? Which way we going around? We going this way? We going that way?
You know, like
Oh, you gonna be Tresvon finish it up. All right. Well, I'll go. You wanna go, other?
Lead my man.
All right. Man. This year, man. I would say, other than the year my grandmother passed, and I won't even say that. This probably been my most challenging year this year. You know, and the crazy part, it started off so well. The beginning of my year, like I'll probably start off as far as like financially making money. The most money I probably made in like the first quarter of the year. So from January to I say about April, it was rolling. You know what I'm saying? I was in a relationship, you know, stuff with my daughter, you know, family. It just seemed like everything was going well. At the beginning, money, business, me being in the financial service industry and everything like that. Like I was rolling, you know, and I was so focused and I was so locked in that I'm like, oh man, yeah, I'm getting all of my goals this year. And right around April, and I know April was the end of April in particular was the shift for me, where one of the things that I know I have to work on with myself is not getting comfortable. And I remember at the end of April that I made a certain amount of money, and I like, man, I did good for this month. Like, I'm gonna just coast it out a little bit, and I'm gonna get ready to start May back up strong. And so I was like, so then I lost my momentum. And for me, and I think for most people, especially in the business or whatever you're doing, momentum is so important just to keep momentum going and going and going.
Absolutely.
So I had lost momentum, and then May I tried to kickstart it back up, and then that's when life started life. That's when life started life. I think it was May 17th. Uh, I had found out that morning my uncle passed away, and for me, my uncle, and this is gonna be like a little theme as we go through this year, but I was really close with my uncle when I was younger, and then as I got older, we kind of fell off a little bit, and a lot of it probably was him because he couldn't. I mean, this dude had about three different phone numbers every year. You know what I'm saying? Like every time it's a different number. You know, so I'm like, man, I don't even know how to even keep up with you, even if I wanted to. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't keep up with him like that. But I remember when he was living here in Richmond, man, I was with him all the time. Him and my dad was in business together. They had a car detail shop and stuff like that. So he was around a lot. So when he passed and my dad told me, I'm like, dang, this is kind of crazy because there was some other stuff where it's like, I ain't gonna touch on that part, but it's some stuff that happened before I found out he passed away, where it's just like, dang, this is crazy that this is all happening around this time, and so when he passed, it's like, dang man, you passed now when it's other family stuff we got going on that we trying to we just got hit with. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, dang, he passed away. So that was May 17th. And I was like, so I talked to my dad, and he's like, yo, we don't even know what happened. They found out he was in the house for 2 weeks, they think it was about like 2 weeks. Dead. In there for 2 weeks. Yeah, man. For 2 weeks.
So it was a really premature death. Like
he was I think in his so my dad was 54, so he probably was put somewhere around 60.
2 years.
You know what I'm saying? But the crazy part, my grandmother passed away at like 67. And that's her oldest son. He passed away. He had to be somewhere around 60, somewhere around. You know what I'm saying? So he passed, and it's like, dang man, that's crazy. That same evening, I get in a car accident. That same evening, and mind you, I was in my dad's truck, and so now not only did my dad lose his brother, now I gotta try to figure out how to tell him like, yo, bro, I'm sorry to tell you, but I got in a car accident with your truck. And he like, man, no, like, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of took me out the equation and was like, dang man, I'm trying to be there as much as I can for my dad, cause like, your brother gone, and now I done got in a car accident with your car when somebody just came out and just sideswiped me. You know what I'm saying? And he like, man, I remember him saying that like he was a little. Of course, he was upset because he was my uncle was in Portsmouth. He was out in Portsmouth trying to handle family business, and he was upset. But I remember the next day he like, man, Paul, you think I worry about that truck? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like that, man. I apologize and stuff like that. Like, man, you think I worry about that truck right now? Yo, like, long as you good, you know what I'm saying? That's what really matters. You know what I'm saying? And so, but even still, like the stress of having to go through all of that. So get through that, now I'm trying to deal with the lawyers and I was trying to go straight through the insurance company, trying to deal with them, trying to get that momentum back with business. A week after that, my dad called me. He was like, man, I just got in touch with I called him Pop Bill. That was my grandfather. He like, I just got back in touch, man. He in the hospital. Might want to call and check up on him. I like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll call and check up on him. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't thinking nothing of it. You know what I'm saying? Then it was like, no, he said he didn't say he was in the hospital. He said, yo, I came across him. You might want to call and check up on him. 2 days after that, he like, yo, you call and check up on him? I like, man, no, I ain't even get a chance to. He like, yo, he's in the hospital now, and he got a certain cancer, and he probably got 1 to 3 months. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, what? Now the backstory with him, I hadn't seen. I grew up with my grandmother, my grandfather. Spent a lot of time with them because my parents had me young and they was trying to finish school. So I did preschool, all that stuff with them. So my grandfather was my man. You know what I'm saying? Every time I went to Portsmouth to see my grandmother, I go see him. But when my grandmother passed, some stuff went down at the funeral. where I didn't like it. I didn't like how certain things was handled and some of the stuff that was said. And it's not that I was trying to avoid it. It just was like, yo, like I'm kind of cool right now. You know what I'm saying? And so then to get that news, I'm like, dang man. When I think about it, that was back in 2017. We in 2023 now. This is like what? That's 8 years. Six was dang, man. My math way off. Dang, Corn.
I got you, bro.
Yeah, but so it's been 6 years that done passed that I ain't talked to a dude. Anytime I went to go see my grandma, I went to go see him. So I was like, dang man, I need to go see you. So I was spending a lot of time for about like a month going back and forth like once a week to go see him. And it was the craziest thing. The first time I seen him, man, he might have been like 110, 120. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't even. I almost didn't recognize him. But this is one of the. And as I go through these, I guess stories, I talk about certain lessons I learned. This one I learned a lesson about like what's really important when you put it down to life and death. Is it really that important? I went to go see him, and my dad walked through the door first, and he like, hey, what's going on? But he really weak. He can't even really talk that much now. So my dad go in and see him like, what's up? And my dad like, yo, I got somebody that want to see you. And I walk in, and he look at me for like a second, and then he just started busting out crying. He just started crying, and my cousins and stuff was there. And mind you, to go back to this, is not even my biological grandfather. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't meet my biological grandfather until I was 17. I thought he was this whole, for a long time. So for somebody to take me on to the point where I didn't even know we not even you're not my biological. He was locked in with me like this. All his family I thought was my cousin, like my biological cousin. So I see my cousin and everything. She like, yo, Paul, he ain't had this reaction with nobody else except for you. And I know what it was because it's like we was like this growing up. You know what I'm saying? I remember I used to go to McDonald's. He'd be with his home, his people. I get like a little coloring book, and I just sit there, and they just be sitting there just drinking coffee, eating hash browns.
With their senior coffee.
Exactly, man. Eating the hash browns, and I'm sitting there just chilling with them. You know what I'm saying? So we was like locked in. So I know it hurt him too, and I like, man, it's good. Whatever it is, we good. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't even worried about that no more. And that's one of the things that put stuff in perspective. That hopefully it helped somebody out there where it's like, yo, like, is it really worth? If they passed away, are you gonna be okay with it? The fact that you haven't talked to them, or at least made an attempt, because at the end of the day, it's a two-way street. You know what I'm saying?
That part.
But if you comfortable with not making an attempt, and you if something was to happen, you fine with it, then you at peace. But man, that was my man. You know what I'm saying? So after that, man, I was going up there like trying to go like once a week to go see him, and then it just got to the point where he was like, man, he couldn't talk no more. So he was like, man, I just rather you just, you call me on the phone or something, and you could just talk to me, and I'll just listen. But he didn't want me to come back up there no more. You know what I'm saying? And then it was right around August that he actually passed away. So with all this time, I'm a full time entrepreneur. I'm trying to navigate the loss of a family member, losing a family member. I guess kind of like mentally and emotionally healing up because this is my second car accident. So now you know what I'm saying? I'm not scared to drive, but like anytime somebody like pulling up to a stop sign, that foot like on the brake a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
still going through that whole process, being a father. I'm in a relationship, trying to, being there for other people. It was just so much stuff going on. And I didn't realize, like, I would say probably from May to about August or September, I don't label myself as depressed, but I was in a depressed state.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Autopilot.
Yeah, I was on, and not even on autopilot. I was to the point where I was masking, I guess is the best way to put it. You know what I'm saying? I was masking.
I'm still there.
You know what I'm saying? Yo, like, cause nobody knew. And it wasn't until my homegirl D called me sometime in August. I think it was after my grandfather passed. She called me, and I remember she was talking to me, and me and her talk all the time. And this is my best friend. I know her since elementary school. We was talking, and she was talking to me about something and stuff we always talk about. And a minute in, I was like, I was looking at the end call button, and I was about to go press it. And I ain't never felt that way about anybody, because normally if I pick up the phone, I'm ready to talk. If I don't want to talk, I'm not gonna pick up the phone. That was the first time when I heard somebody, and I was like, man, I'm not trying to hit this. And I was ready to end, and I'm like, hold on, Paul, what's going? And so the whole time she like talking to me,
Right.
I'm in my own head like, yo, what's going on with you, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not you.
It's not you.
It's not me, the one that just bang on somebody like that. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, man, what's going on? And then after I got off the phone with her, it just took me into a point where I was like, you know what's going on up here? And I realized, man, like I might have shed tears and stuff, but like I hadn't had a chance to really grieve because, or even had a chance to get to myself because I always got to get to it. And that's for all the people that want to do the entrepreneur life and want to go full time entrepreneur. This is probably one of the parts people don't talk about because I don't really hear people talk about it. It's like, yo, how do you process grief when really life start hitting you? Because during that time, my money is dwindling. You know what I'm saying?
Good.
Money is dwindling because I gotta pay for certain things. My daughter needs stuff. You know what I'm saying? I got my own living stuff I gotta take care of, and I'm not generating the money because I'm not even my best version of myself. Like I'm normally good at closing sales. I'm normally good at
Right.
presentations and things like
you
that.
don't even feel like
It's not that I won't feel like it. I wasn't my best version of myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't ask the questions I normally ask because I'm not all the way there.
right.
Like emotionally, I'm just not there. Mentally, I'm not there because it's like
You don't want to take on nobody else's issues because you're dealing with your issues.
and but
So
but I'm trying to though.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're
Like,
trying to get it, but
but I can't connect to it.
yeah,
It's a tug of war.
I can't connect to it. So it's like all these people, even in my relationship, where you know I presented the best version of myself I possibly could at that moment, but I still want my best version. You know what I'm saying? And so with going through all of that stuff, man, I realized like, yo, all right, I'm in a certain state. I need to get myself out of it, and that's the best way. Because once you acknowledge it, now you could be like, all right, now what am I gonna do? So I started getting back to the basics, the things I know work for me. Getting back to writing down my affirmation, getting back to waking up early, the reading, the working out, the doing all these things for myself to get myself going.
Right.
And so I started getting myself out of that mindset and started getting myself in a better position. But that time right there, man, it made me realize also the importance of this, of having a community, because not only to be able to open up and talk to your people, your boys or your homegirls or whatever, but also when you have a business, you need a team because of situations like this. It's gonna be so tough to try to. I'm trying to do everything on my own, and I'm dealing with life, and it's like, yo, I'm struggling. You know what I'm saying? I'm struggling, and even people, and also for me, learn to put my pride to the side to be able to accept the help, because I'm the type of person like, yo, like if I don't feel like I got anything to offer you, I don't even want your help because I always think somebody gonna want something back in return for it. You know what I'm saying? And reciprocity, and even if they don't, I want to give you something back in return. Right. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes, man, you gotta allow people to pour into you. You gotta learn how to allow people to pour into you and allow them to help you when you feeling weak. You know what I'm saying? It's not we all go through it. We all have our moments where we going through a weak period.
Yeah.
And we need somebody to help us pull up. I appreciate this brother right here, Utley, man. He was with me and he don't even know it, but he was with me during a lot of the times when like I was struggling. And he came along to help me with our with the yard stuff we're rebuilding in and things like that, and just having a good energy there. So during that period, and once I got out of it, I realized like, dang man, I have to have a team. Like it's not an option. I gotta do something to expand the rebuilding brand, rebuilding men brand, and even with my in the financial service industry, having a solid team to be able to where like if I'm not doing generate business, other people out there generating business. The team aspect is so important. So go through that whole period, starting to pull myself out, starting to get myself back together. Then I would say to start transitioning to the end of the year, around September or October. The last final thing is my relationship ended. And the relationship ended. It's not bad terms or anything like that, man. It's great. She an amazing woman, you know what I'm saying? But she was going on a spiritual journey, and she felt like she needed to be to herself to do these things and to fulfill what her purpose was or define what her purpose was. And it's like I completely understood it because I needed to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like I really need to do that. It was no reason for me to really be in a relationship during that period, other than the fact I was already in one when I was going through it. You know what I'm saying? And she was there for me, and she did the best she could, and so for that I always appreciate her. But I needed her stepping out on her own actually was a blessing for me because I needed to be able to focus 100% on myself.
Right.
I need to be able to focus and figure out like restructure my life and get my priorities in order. So going through that breakup and some of the dreams and stuff I was having around that time before the breakup, after the breakup, some of the stuff I was experiencing, man, I was going through a spiritual shift and everything as well, where it was just like, yo, Paul, you can't keep doing what you think you need to do. You need to do what you know you need to do, kind of thing. And so that required stepping away from some stuff. That required rearranging some stuff, and that's what I had to do. And I had to realize like rebuilding men is what I was put on earth to do. You know what I'm saying? Like the financial stuff, I still do it. You know what I'm saying? I got my licenses. Anybody out there, I can help y'all life insurance, coaching, all that stuff. I can help you with it. But the main thing is rebuilding men. That's what God put on my heart to do. And everything from when I was a kid, working on myself, and all the times alone and wondering like, why do I feel like I need to help people and do these or that? It's been setting me up to do this. Yeah. And I've been trying to. I was worried about like how I'm gonna generate money and things like that. But the fact that my money was dwindling away and I was already struggling financially, I'm like, you ain't got the money now anyway. This is the best time to go full throttle in it. You know what I'm saying? This is the best time. Like, what you got to lose? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you have to lose? Like, let's go out here. Let's get it done. So I had to rearrange stuff where rebuilding men became the top priority, along with being a father, and being there for my daughter, was the top priorities, and everything falls in line with that. And so going in and wrapping up this year, man, it's been the most challenging year, but the end of it has been the biggest reward. And like Trey already know, like what I say, life happens for us, not to us. Everything that happened this year happened for me. It brought so much perspective and it brought so much clarity to my life on what do I need to do and not worrying about what other people thinking. Because I'm like, man, if I was to die today, and heaven, hell, whatever you believe in. But if you gotta speak in front of somebody and be like, yo, how do you feel about your life? I'm not going there with regrets. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna be that woulda, coulda, shoulda guy. I'm gonna be that, yo, I tried. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, God, I tried. And whether how I panned out is how I panned out. But I tried. And that's where I'm at, man. And I know everything gonna line up, man. I got the confidence, I got the belief, and I seen the vision. You know what I'm saying? I seen the vision, and I'm just being obedient and walking in line with it. And so, with that being said, because I think Trey gonna ask what my plan is for next year. The goal for that next year, man, is expansion and action. Expansion and action is my goal for next year, man. To expand, not just rebuilding men, expand my knowledge, expand my relationships, expansion or growth, and then action. What I want to do, take action and take action now and stop waiting because I realize, man, we don't got forever. You know it. You thought you was gone. I done had an accident, man. I thought I was gonna be up out of here too. You know what I'm saying? Like you just don't know, man. And so I'm of course you want to plan out stuff for the future, but you also gotta have that same mindset where whatever I can do today, I need to do today because tomorrow isn't really promised, man. So, I know that was a little long winded, but that's how my year went, man.
That's it.
I wanted to ask you, as far as your relationship is concerned, like if she wouldn't have broke it off with you when she did you feel like you would have been able to do it,
No,
or you needed her to do it?
I needed her to do
You
it
needed her to do it.
because that wasn't even in my thought process.
Right.
That wasn't in my thought process. But the funny part is when she said it, I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like yo, like it wasn't no hard feelings or anything. It was like yo, like I get it, man.
Yeah.
And then I sit back and then as time by, cause then you still have those moments where you be like, well, maybe we can still work it, or you know what I'm saying, or why it had to be like this or whatever like that. But then the more time and everything that passed on, and the more I sit back and thought on my life, I'm like, Paul, you don't even have that much to give to somebody right now. You know what I'm saying? You trying to work on filling your own cup back up. You know what I'm saying? Like you still got stuff, and it's not even just a financial thing, but it's a time thing because this is the mission. And if somebody's not right here side by side with me, hey, time is limited. You know what I'm saying? So
that's part of women's intuition. Most women do break up relationships
Because fathom that.
But guys, we do certain things to initiate the woman to break it up. So
because they got the strength, and this is the funny part, and this is why like when people come to me about breakups, I might be a little bit colder with the fellas and stuff than maybe other people because every breakup has been to my benefit. You know what I'm saying? Like every breakup I done got better from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or I done learned something from it where it helped me somehow. So when I hear somebody broken up, I'm like, yo, bro, it's about to be good out here for you. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, yo, I'm not trying to hear that. But it's like every time a woman broke up with me, I elevate. You know what I'm saying? Because one, another thing I learned through this whole process is gratitude. I'm grateful. A lot of us think about like anytime something bad happened, we just think, oh, it was all bad. You know what I'm saying? Or you only think about the bad. Where I think about a lot of the good stuff. I think about all the time she poured into me. She didn't bought me stuff. She didn't, pay for dinners. She, what I'm saying, wanted to go places and stuff with me. It was me that was holding it back. You know what I'm saying? It was me.
But I stick with the phrase that we may call these things on our path obstacles, but they are not obstacles. They are part of the path.
That's it.
So those things are not there to stop you. Those things are for you to learn how to maneuver.
Yeah. So yeah. And that's what my whole life. That's a great way to put it. This whole year has been about learning how to maneuver. Learn how to maneuver through life challenges. Learn how to maneuver through deaths that hit you here. You know what I'm saying? Learn how to maneuver through relationship issues or relationship breakups. Learning how to maneuver through that. Learning how to maneuver through financial challenges. Everything this year has been learning about how to maneuver. And so that's a great way. That's a great way to put it, man. Learn how to maneuver, and that's why I'm so confident about 2024.
This is, representing chrysalis, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is, we talk about this quite often, is when the larva, the caterpillar, goes into this state and comes out a butterfly. Did it become a new creature?
Yeah.
Or was the butterfly always in the caterpillar?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but until on that path, until you go through, again, you call them obstacles, but until you get through that patch in the path that puts you into that state to prepare you to blossom into that butterfly. You know what I mean? So it's just like,
I was in my chrysalis this year.
Hey, you were in tune. This because also this is where we get the ancients. Mummifications. You were in tune. You know what I mean? And
And then so in the afterlife, it's supposed to be like the butterfly kind of thing.
well, these are, you know, because if you look at this, just the life cycle of a butterfly. Now, these are the things that happens in our living. Again, like, we look at everything that we go through from energy to energy, and everything in between. Like that one line is our whole eternal life. So eternal life is all of these different phases.
Yeah.
So now going through this chrysalis, this is what goes on in our life phase.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but again, ultimately things outside of that, you know, will be like, you know, talking about the waves and energies that, you know, we enter and also exit through. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what I went through. This was my chrysalis stage, man. So I'm happy about
And you know,
everything
because
that happened.
and what's so trippy about that is like, what's crazy is sometimes as a chrysalis, if you think about it, you're moving. Like that caterpillar is moving, is eating, is enjoying. But life sometimes got to get you still. That chrysalis, you are in tune, you're wrapped.
Yeah.
Slow your roll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I could talk about like there's sometimes people in accidents. Stop. You may be going down the wrong path, right? So, and I hear this phrase quite often when people say like, you know, you only use 10% of your brain. Okay, so what about dreams? What about intuition? You know, these are all activities of the brain. The 10% that you're really making reference to is just conscious in the active, in the now. So no, we use more than just that 10%. I think we use the whole percent of the brain because that 90% of that subconsciousness they call it, but I call it superconscious because I refuse the word sub. But when you in your superconscious, this is where dreams come from. These are the things that you wake up from and have visions, and these are the things that causes, you know, motivation.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
in many different aspects of our life. You know, what I
And,
mean?
and during the end of this year, man, it was a point for about a month I was having a dream like every other night. You know what I'm saying? Now some of them I could consciously remember, and some of them I couldn't. But I was having so many dreams, and then when I went through and dissected a lot of these dreams, it lined up. You know what I'm saying? It lined up to either how I was feeling or the direction that I needed to go in. You know what I'm saying? So it's
because I don't know if you're like me, but when you get up from a dream state, um, the amount of energy they call that realm, you know, dancing with the stars, dancing with the gods, you know, in that dream state. And I was like, do you if you could just only imagine and see the brain activity, the electricity, how much it takes us to in that phase to get out of that world and come back into the conscious. It's almost sometimes that we don't want to come back sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to wake up from a dream, yeah.
So, you know, because what happens, you know, but to put it back into light though, it's just, uh, it's just that these are the opportunities that we really have to solve a lot of our, because again, answers are being delivered to us into that state. You know what I mean? Because if you're talking about ancestral knowledge, DNA, you know, this is when that state you're tapped into your DNA, and that's all your ancestral wisdom that's passed down. You know what I mean? So I know I have to. As soon as I get up, I have to write these things down.
Yeah.
Because throughout the day, I mean, man, that dream was so good.
I record
what was
mine.
it?
I recorded
Excellent,
it.
excellent.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, like you said, but then that's how you're able to go back.
Yeah,
in and
yeah.
dissect it. Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, we have to, you know, I think appreciate dreams a little bit more and record them as much as we can, and have that opportunity to dissect them much later because it's it's a form of communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and the little funny part. Nah, I ain't gonna say that. I don't know if it's legal, so I ain't gonna say it.
Banned on TV.
Hey, look, I ain't gonna incriminate myself.
An after midnight edition.
No, but yeah, that's it for me, man.
So, Mr. Utley.
Oh my goodness. This is very difficult for me because time is not spatial.
Right.
You know, and to be a historian, you can't be a historian without knowing dates. So I do recognize and speak on a lot of times on dates, but I try not to do it in episodical, spurts. I wanted to be in order, but again, that kind of goes against really my philosophy on life. Everything is not time does not move in one direction.
Stories get told in a circle.
And then when you apply like the second law of thermodynamics, like hot coffee in a mug, energy moves from hot to cold, right? And there's always a linear direction. You know, that cold coffee is not going to warm up by itself. It's not going to flow backwards ever. You got to use the microwave, to get it hot again. So, but the thing about human beings is that we are not in a vacuum. We transfer heat all the time with our environment, which means that we actually break the second law of thermodynamics. So therefore, time should also not be one direction for us. And it never really is. So for me to break down my year, because I keep everything with me, past, present, future is happening right now, and it's going to happen in 2 more seconds and 3 more seconds. But I think this year for me started out with one thing in mind, and I don't think any of that got accomplished. Because, um, as you say, life get the life in. I will take a moment though to kind of break down some things that has transpired that I think has sometimes put time in reverse, slowed time down, sped time up in other directions. Um, but the goals that I had for myself did get slowed down because I was thinking about having the YouTube channel. Um, I was thinking about having the online course, African History Studies, completed by this time. Um, so none of that transpired this year. But through networking, found a young lady that's going to help make that possible. Um, but one thing that I'm very excited about is I finally had to put some of my words in action. I always told my kids at an early age that it was not my desire for ever them to go to college or ever have a job. But if they had a desire, of course, I would support them in anything they choose. Um, because as we know, in America, it's not designed for dreamers. It's not designed for um, anything that disturbs, I guess capitalism. So instead of going against the system, it's weird that they push capitalism as a good thing, but they don't teach us how to be capitalist.
Right. Right.
So I was very fascinated to help my daughter follow how America truly works, which is becoming a capitalist entrepreneur, a business owner. And so so the thing I had to kind of break away from, because I told them that at an early age, that I also told them at an early age that I send you to school to socialize. I educate you at home. So my daughter has been struggling. I don't know if she took that to heart and was failing intentionally, but this summer I told her that I was going to take the time to be her coach this year. Right? We're going to be on the AB honor roll list. Right? So, and we've talked about this, but I always, follow the teaching too, though. This is from Professor Copper, where it's made clear to me, and I understand it, overstand it, that when kids fail the test, they pass. And when they pass the test, they fail. And what I take from that is that because something about us doesn't allow certain information to take root. So for students in the class being told a certain thing, why is it a bad thing if something that doesn't agree with them does not take root?
Mm.
Because we all know, I think we've all been in situations. Sometimes when truth hits us, we may have never been taught a single lesson about that, but something about it stands out.
Yeah.
It feel right.
You know what I mean? So we understand that, but sometimes I think we overlook that with our children. Like, why are you not taking this information in? And I broke it down with them. I was like, oh, I know why you're not taking it in. You know, let me add the other half of that coin. Let me add the other half of that story. You know, help you see yourself in the grand scheme of things. And then once they can make a connection with, oh, well, now that I see myself, now that I see my people, I can now understand it. Now I can receive the information. So my daughter has been receiving information only because I've been adding the whole story.
Mm.
You know, the half truths. My daughter was just not taking the information.
Just don't make sense.
It just doesn't make sense, right? So,
That's powerful.
so like a good example, and you've heard me say this before, and I want to share it one more time. Please forgive the repeat. Um, but the a squared b squared equals c squared. So that's why they tell kids in the classroom to sit up. So when you're sitting up, or in the military, it's also called sitting at attention, right? But the a squared is the 90-degree angle at your ankle, the 90-degree at your knee, the 90-degree at your back. Once you end those 90 degrees, then energy flows. You're able to stay a little bit more alert when you're sitting up. You're kind of drifting off when you break that current,
Mm.
right? So when I explained that was what a squared, b squared, c squared, and she was like, ah, and then explaining how that information was also used to build pyramids, to build, basically building structures. And then we're talking about a restaurant. She wants to do that. So how that information is going to be used to build your ideal restaurant. Your joint, your joint, and it's got to be at this angle. And so once she began to see herself and see how it also applies to her future, it's not only in her present state.
Right.
It was just like, oh, okay. Now my daughter doesn't doze off in class no more, just by understanding what caused her to get sleepy.
Yeah. A squared plus b squared equals c squared.
And she gets so excited to bring the assignment back to me to get the other half of the story. And she's like, oh, that makes more sense. So she took a math that she really wasn't supposed to take, Algebra 2, but she thought she could do it. And we're having fun understanding how it applies to life, how it applies to science, how it applies to history. So we do integrated learning. So therefore, we don't in the classroom. You take these 45-minute classes, 45-minute classes. You got a book for your math class. You got a book for your science, and you kind of taught that they don't mix.
Yeah.
But with integrated education, showing how math is the language of science, and she has a Christianity class, history, 1500 to present, but then also mathematics is the language to science, then science is the language for spirituality. Like you can't be spiritual without being somewhat aware of science.
Mm.
When you guys are working out, physical, like, the clarity that comes from the workout, you know what I mean? To sweat out some of those toxins, you know what I mean? You are going to be you got to be your best self. They say, church, always wear your best, always bring your best.
Sunday best.
And you can't be your best if your health is not of the best.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So yeah, so long story on that, to showing that up, it's just like, so I have really enjoyed becoming a coach for my daughter in her education, uh, because what she was learning in the institution was not, she wasn't taking that information as all. So to add the educational piece on the behind self, again, because the word education comes from educe, means to, it's not supposed to be absorbing information. Yeah. It's supposed to be like how to be the best you.
Mm.
Bring you out. You should see all yourself in all of these lessons. You know what I mean? So now that she's seen how it applies to her and applies to her life and what she wants to get accomplished in life, everything is kind of being absorbed a lot more quicker. She's able to retain it a lot better, and she's able uh, to also regurgitate the information a lot better with with the knowledge of like self in what she's talking. So
Right.
so that has been one thing. Of course, school starts in August, late August. Um, so one thing that did get jump started, that I'm excited about, which is the book club. So also through the help of the young lady that is so excited on helping so many other areas of MLM, the organization that I bring forth ancient African sacred science to life in the form of classroom settings, the podcast, the Robert Utley Show. So we are just so excited to finally be putting some of that into action. So that's happening at the end here of 2023. So 2024 is just going to be an explosion
Yeah.
for MLM. And through Paul, through your advice, I am going to start doing my tours at the museum here in Richmond. And then I definitely want to bring that to the group. I want to bring that to the city.
Yes.
Once a month, I want to do the tour out at the museums. They have the great African Egyptian exhibits, and be prepared to.
Learn.
I'm just looking for. I'm envisioning the crowds coming around, and I'm looking forward. I love to debate. I'm looking forward to the debates. I'm looking
They
forward to
coming.
the other
They
perspectives.
coming.
And but again, it's just the thing that excites me the most is I got this from again a master teacher and inner under and understand it to the point where when it comes down to the debating is that until you have five sources to verify what you're saying, you haven't earned the right to speak on the subject.
Mm.
So that's where the debate, passion that I know is going to come into a great conversation because I'm prepared to present information to
My sources.
to individuals, and you know they some of this stuff is hard to invalidate. You know what I mean? Because and what's so crucial with some of this information is because it's a part of yourself,
Yeah.
and that's what amazes me the most. And that's what's really the purpose behind everything that I do right now, which is again, is a true sense of education. I want you to be the best self. I want you to be your better.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do that is to truly know how you operate,
Hmm.
So,
who you are. See, we all are comfortable in identifying of what we are. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a Christian. I'm a Muslim. I'm a Buddhist. We all are very comfortable in those what labels.
yeah.
What makes us tick? What guides my day? What controls my activities? We're very comfortable in that. But understanding how we operate, from the creation of the nerve cell, understanding Nissa graduals, which is black energy. And we see, if you're talking about consciousness, we kind of figure out where that comes from. When you're watching these Nissa graduals in a nerve cell, all this black material, and only thing consciousness is connectivity. You see these electrical pulses, what we called impulses,
Yeah.
going from black material to black material. So the understanding that without this black substance in the beginning phase, like there is no life. So again, how we came to be, just in the science alone, is a great understanding. Because when I get into some of these conversations, I find it very interesting that we have no true understanding of a finite being, but we brag so much about having this perfect relationship with an infinite being.
Mm.
And I just find that sometimes it's so amazing. So but I don't want to get into a lesson. But again, so this is part of my excitement that I'm looking forward to in 2024. Um, I've been helping a cousin of mine behind the scenes because I have an extensive background in hotel management. I did that maybe 20 years as a career. I just love numbers. Budget season, October's was like my favorite time of the year. So I've helped a young lady build her budget for her nonprofit. I've been doing the same thing with my cousin. We're about to launch a tile floor maintenance program business, and then in the summer we should be ready to then launch the soft wash, power wash part of that business. So we're very excited about the outcome of that. One thing that we mesh well on is that we all think about family throughout all of this, and I guess that's also kind of like where I'm at too. That for the next, this may be the next 30 years of my life.
Right.
Talking about not only 2024,
And beyond.
but we at 2054.
Yeah.
Where legacy building. So that's really what's on my frontal lobe right now is, and it's also part of my mission because what happens is they say when the last descendant doesn't remember you as their ancestor, let's just say that's when that energy really dies out. So a legacy is, you know, what are people going to be able to read about you?
Man.
Is there anything in writing about you?
Mhm.
What are people going to see about you? Is there any images left of you? Um, and then at the same time, a law, did you implement anything that will be needed for generations to come? So these are the things that I'm working on, legacy building. And I just want to be able to do something that will be remembered from generation to generation to come. So
That's dope, man.
that's me.
Yes.
That's dope, man.
Yes. Man. Um,
Q&A. What you got for me, brother?
you touched on a lot. Y'all got questions. Y'all got questions as well. You touched on a lot. I like your thought process because I'm also like that. Like I think like, okay, it's next year, but I'm not thinking about like this is happening next year. This is what I need to make happen, regardless of
The year.
the year.
Yeah.
So I try not to constrain my time, constrain myself when it comes to time. But it's also interesting because I also put that type of pressure on myself when it comes to time. So lately, what I realized about myself is around the fourth quarter of the year, for the last 3 years, I wouldn't say it's depressive, but I kind of get outside of myself because I always channel this dictator inside. Like this doesn't matter how you feel, just keep going. You know, and
And there's a national phenomenon that actually breaks that down too.
yeah.
For the fourth quarter.
So it also comes where we get the New Year resolution from.
Mm.
So December the 21st is the shortest day of the year.
Mm.
Less sunlight. So the New Year resolution has to come after this period because just natural energy that we get from the sun, the energy that we have during the spring and summer months. So when the body is weak, that allows the spirit to take over.
Yeah.
So while the body is weak, that's where our manifestations are a little bit stronger because we receive little to no resistance from the physical at that time. So people make these resolutions and begin to think about what I'm going to get done next. And these are great opportunities to do so because you're physically receiving less resistance from yourself
Wow.
during these times. So yeah, this is crunch time for
It's
many
crunch
people.
time. You know,
But was there a question in there, or you was building up to a question?
honestly, it just was expressing.
Oh, okay.
I think you covered pretty much. Y'all have any questions?
Nah. He covered. What I would say is, uh, he has the MLM movement, the Modern Liberation movement, um, and especially with the sources. The thing I enjoy about his classes is at the end he has a slide where it got all the sources, the book, the page, might got the paragraph. You know what I'm saying? Where everything is. So
Index.
the index. So he has everything there. And I remember when I went to the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, and I had walked around the museum, and I came across the African, like I guess the ancient
Exhibit.
African exhibit. He was the first person I thought, like the idea just popped in my head. Was like, I got an idea for it. As soon as I got up out there, I called him. I was like, yo, this is something you need to do, because I was like,
Thank you.
it's a whole open market, and with his history, and that's a way to build up the excitement for the classes.
Yeah.
People go there, they be like, oh, he got these group people. I wonder what he doing,
And be
and just keep on going. And then you think about it, you can set up tours to go to different states where they got these exhibits and stuff like that, and just go there, and you know what I'm saying, like the possibilities is endless. But because of what he done and what I've taken away from it, and not only has I've learned so much, but also helped with my spiritual growth. Uh, Going through these classes, because that's another big thing for me that I was going through, especially this last like third and fourth quarter. The spiritual growth for me that I've been going through, it's just been amazing. But taking it back before there was a book. You know what I'm saying? Because the book hasn't always been around.
Come on, bro.
You know what I'm saying? So
Thanks.
learning that, like, yo, like a lot of these ancient civilizations led up to this book that we dive into. You know what I'm saying? So it's just been so rewarding for me and everything like that.
And what's crazy is like, and I like to dive into things like that. Again, not so much the what, but how and why.
Mm-hmm.
So like, why was writing ever necessary in the first place, right? And it was just like, imagine a group of people, and you learning the land, you cultivating the land, but it's only until you begin migration that you need writing. So like, so before I get to move, right? So first I'm noticing a movement in the stars, so like navigation, right? I'm noticing that the sun rise east, sets in the west, but also that's the same motion that the stars, the backdrop is also moving in that same direction. So let's see where that takes us,
Yeah.
right? So, but then with navigation, but see, all my herbs is the wife done grew all the herbs I need when I'm sick, when you know what I mean? Everything is here. So we got to start talking about mathematics, dosages, and writing out prescriptions. So
carry it with it.
so it was just like, again, everything has a reason of why it came into existence. So it's just so crazy that again, these are the things that I really want us to just like come to an understanding of, just like why,
Mm-hmm.
why.
And that's why
And
I
that's
like
the
about
great,
the
and that's the
class.
greatest question we need to be asking to
And that's
for
the question.
self-discovery.
And that's the question I always ask for everything is why. I know it get on some people nerves sometimes, but I be like, yo, it's a reason for everything. You know what I'm saying? It's a reason. It's now, do we have the answer for everything? No, but it's a reason for it. You know what I'm saying? And it's okay to be like, yo, I don't know the answer, because that leads into the, well, let me see if I can find the answer. And so that's what I like about the class too.
And see, and why is also a rites passage,
Hmm.
and it's supposed to be really accomplished around the age 4 or 5. As a father, I think around your daughter's age. Why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? Why? And like you said, sometimes from an adult standpoint, like, can you stop asking questions? Like, it is because it is. We come with all these short phrases to end the conversation, but imagine being in the classroom as a teenager. You know, why? If this going to be on test, why I got to learn this? It's because that child did not see, and that why is a spirit.
Mm.
And until that spirit is appeased,
Yeah, it's always gonna be unsettled.
you never really took that rites of passage for the next step. You know what I mean? So we still got some people just in their 20s and 30s asking why. It's a rites of passage that that spirit within them never got the comfort of.
That's good. That's crazy.
You know what I mean? And that's why each one of these rites of passages are just so crucial for not only men but women too. So uh, kind of brought it up last night. We got so many expectations on men, right? But who trained these men?
Yeah.
And we kind of did, again, the chronological order. So we're talking about slavery, plantation, sharecropping, civil rights movement, and then that would kind of bring us to our generation. When was there an opportunity for fatherhood, manhood to be taught?
Right. Yeah.
So we are in a situation right now as this generation of men work through all the transgeneration epigenetic inheritance, all the trauma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The trauma has to stop here, and we got to understand that we are setting that new foundation of manhood, fatherhood for generations to come.
That's what I see.
Man.
That's what I see.
I want to maybe mention something real quick. You're talking about why being like you said a rites of passage, right? You're talking about 4 or 5 years old. That's when it is that kids usually start asking. So sure enough, I was one of those kids who asked why all the time. And I think it was the 96, 97 edition. My mom got the full A to Z of encyclopedias, right? And so when I was young, anytime I asked her why anything was, she would send me to the encyclopedias to go and check it out and find out for myself. And then I finally got to an age where I didn't want to check the encyclopedias no more, or the encyclopedias were outdated, and I had to go find other sources to figure out the information that I was looking for. But sure enough, that's what mom did.
The funny part about the why for me, I always learned it through life. You know what I'm saying? Like
Life's gonna teach you.
It was something in life.
The greatest teacher.
It was something in life that showed me the answer. Cause I remember I'd be like, "Oh, why do people die?" You know what I'm saying? Like I remember hearing that, "Why do people suffer?" And I was like, the only answer that life told me is to appreciate what you have. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the answer that kind of came to me. That it was like I stopped asking why do people die. You know what I'm saying? Because if you live forever, what good would it be to build relationships? Like I see you in 100 years. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I catch up with you in 100 years or whatever. But when you know it's a limited amount of time, everything that you do throughout this life means something. You know what I'm saying? To you personally. And so that's the great thing about like what you said about that why, and it is like a rites of passage thing because once you get the answer to your why, like oh, all right, cool, I'm not worried about that no more. You know what I'm saying? I already know what's suit for me.
When I pondered immortality, right? Because this is one of the things that I do is I actually think about what people consider impossible. I don't see impossibility. So I'm more of the what if. You know what I mean? And what if I had the time that I wanted? Then act on it now. What if you know what I'm saying, came across the opportunity that you wanted? I'm more what if. So, what if you were immortal? What would you do? What would you were invincible? What would you do? I ask myself these things, and looking at certain things like anime and stuff draws out like
Creativity.
yeah, and it helps with imagining that, and I came to the conclusion I don't want to be immortal.
It's too much work.
I don't want to be immortal. I thought like, okay, like one scenario, like I love my woman for life, to death, all of it. You know what I'm saying? If I'm immortal and she isn't,
Yeah.
I'm already suffering because I know that I'm gonna lose you physical. You know what I'm saying? Like I know you'll always be with me, but seriously, like you are my rib. You are a part of me. And just thinking of that, it's like yo, like I'm ready to flip out, and I'm ready to overload you with the love that I have because I know that like at some point, like one of us is gonna get taken out. You know what I mean? So I'd rather that's just an example, but I'd rather feel what I feel. I cherish my emotions and my journey, my spiritual development, my clarity I get, my understanding. If I was invincible and I had no fear, then I wouldn't protect. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't protect because I'm good. You know what I mean? I wouldn't even be observative of what could happen. An accident, a gun. I wouldn't be observative of it because none of that stuff is going to affect me anyway.
That made me think about what you said. And once you become invincible, you're not human no more.
No,
And I think it was at the meeting we had. He was like, "Yo, like we come to the table knowing we have flaws."
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And learning to, I guess, accept those flaws and stuff lead to that unconditional love and stuff we talk about.
That's true.
And you know what I'm saying? And then learning how to I enjoy life so much. Every time these new or obstacles or whatever you want to call it come in, yeah, I might feel sad, I might get angry, I'm gonna go through my emotional feeling, but then to be able to overcome that feeling and to come back stronger,
Right.
that's to me that's the one of the greatest things about life. You know what I'm saying? It's learning how to the Utley put it the best way. Learning that it's a part of the path. You know what I'm saying? Like death is a part of the path. You know what I'm saying? Life is a part of the path. Like it all come a part of the path, and learning to not just accept it, but make the best of the time that we get, and making the best of the birth and the death. It's just the best to me. The best part, and I'm not sitting here saying like I don't get sad, man. I still cry about my grandmother, my grandfather, and stuff like that. But then also knowing that death is not the end as well too. You know what I'm saying? Like the ancestry, heaven, whatever you want to believe. Most people that believe in something, death is not the end. You know what I'm saying? It's something else. So with that in mind, it's just Mike Tyson put it best. He said, "Man, I'm looking forward to death because I want it's a new experience. It's something new for me to experience. We learning how to experience being human. You know what I'm saying? We learning the experience of this physical body. What's that next step?
So like for me, so now it's just this is going out there, way left field. But you're a lefty, so I think you'll catch it. Is again going back to my intro, like time is not spatial. It doesn't occupy space. It doesn't take up space. And it's all the way you perceive it. You control your time by thinking the way how time operates with you. So when you're talking about people breaking down their year, like excitement, some downtime, back to excitement, hope for excitement, um, that's where that sounds kind of like imbalance to me, right? So if you're having a great day, learn how to humble yourself. If you are being put down and you're being humbled, learn how to uplift yourself. These are things that should be daily activities.
Yeah,
Crazy.
So with Mike Tyson talking about death, do you know how many cells of ours die a day?
Yeah.
About every 3 weeks, you have a completely new heart. All the cells right now in my heart will be gone in 3 weeks.
Hmm.
It's gonna be all new cells, right? So we experience the death continuously. You know, what creates tears, an emotion of a death that we experience balls up into our tear ducts and it produces this water, this experience of rejuvenation. Our body weeps because we are constantly facing death and experiencing death all the time,
Hmm.
right? So, what is something cool to take from all of this is just like eternity is happening every day.
Hmm.
Life and death just happened for you, just happened for you, it just happened for you, it just happened for me. I just died. At the same time, a rebirth took place, right?
Hmm.
Because when a cell dies, a new one is also being created, right? So,
That deja vu of
so and what's crazy too, though, they're talking about eternity, and it's just like for those who believe in the phrase "let there be light," right? So if that's the beginning for many people's belief systems, that was that was energy pushed out into the universe, right? And just like we also kind of have in our minds, you can't kill God. God is immortal. God is everlasting, right? But at the same time, that energy that just was released is what made you come into existence. So the first thing people had to really, in order to get caught in the rat race, in order to get caught up in the mundane, the day by day, the hustle, the grind, for a person to even get caught up in that, death had to be introduced as an idea. And that death, that something can come to an end, even though no science on any way on the face of the earth proves that death actually exists. It's a belief that death happens. So now you got this fear of death. I don't want to. Life is too good. Life is good, and I don't want to go that route. So you begin to have this fear, and you go through all of these things, and we do them. Some people do it if you have an understanding that it's just good for you and you enjoy doing it. But a lot of people exercise and eat healthy because of that fear.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, well, this runs in my family, so I got to take it out of my diet, or I got to work out more. So. But again, if God is immortal and that energy that was spoken was what makes you into existence, it's kind of hard to understand that. Well, why do I feel like there is an end? For myself, for the universe, for anything.
Hmm.
You have to come back and say, which God has to also be on a time clock too.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So when I think about eternity, it's just something that I'm trying to be in a situation where I can experience that state of thinking every single day. So that's why I was saying it was kind of hard to kind of wrap up this year. I pointed out a few activities that I got involved in, but as far as my thinking is like where I'm at, it's just like,
We didn't even mention the freedom papers.
oh,
Hmm.
with the freedom papers, uh, that is something that is the Harriet Tubman, it's the Frederick Douglass, it's Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. It's the ancestral spirits
Rebellion.
that, see, and I like to think about. I want to talk about that for a second. The word rebellion, and then you can also include the word terrorism. We probably don't want to go into it. It's gonna be maybe too hot for TV.
I imagine so. That's what I thought. You intentionally kept out the freedom papers.
That's why I ain't asking. I don't want to say nothing about it.
No, 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 no. Well, okay.
I'm giving too much.
I'm gonna change that direction. So now, as far as the freedom papers go, what that typically means is just that somebody posted something today, and it kind of goes along with this. It's just like, why is there a D in fridge but no D in refrigerator? And I think the comment was like, the English language is stupid or something like that. And my response to that was, the English language is actually does two things. It, it has a designation to confuse you, but it also has a destination or a purpose of making you feel intelligent,
Manipulates.
right? So, you talk about like, if you get a degree in what they would consider a third world country, when you come to America, like none of your degrees matter, right? So the English language is has the illusion of being King Almighty, supreme. Um, but at the same time, on many levels, it dumbs us down because it's not tonal. It doesn't have those vibrational sounds, which actually expands our cranium, um, which and intelligence is involved in the deeper your crevices are in your brain. So with no beat, with no drums, which is another reason that drums was so important. Without that vibration, you're not getting any more intelligent scientifically, right? So with the Freedom Papers, what it boils down to is, what if everything you was ever told was a lie? So therefore, if I was born in a world of lies, that means I'm living a lie. So with the Freedom March is, I want to stand on truth for the first time in my life. I don't want it to be in a situation where this body, when laid to rest for its transition, to be a slave. My mother's one of my greatest inspirations. One time she had to address another young teacher, addressing her a particular way that was inappropriate, but that statement rings bells with me all the time when she looked at this young lady and told her that, who are you yelling at? Slavery days been over. And, but then, with the Freedom Papers, I began to understand that
It's remixed.
everything is contractual, everything is pushed into a law. And what's crazy is we don't even know these laws. Sue juris, like we don't even speak Latin, but a lot of these contracts has Latin in them. Like, well, why is that? So understanding that the money that we use doesn't do what we think it does. Um, and if I can speak on that for a second, like, so in 1933, the United States filed the Emergency Banking Act. And within that, well, let's go back a little bit further. 1929 is when we had the crashing of the market. And it's weird, most crashes happens in October. But we crashed the market in 1929, and then in the 1930s, early 1930s, 1933, create this emergency. Social Security was introduced. Yes, we can help you, says the government, but you got to take this number. You got many people protesting today. Oh, I will never take the mark of the beast. Those who read Revelation and believe in its apocalyptic um, happenings and still to come. Yes, you will take the mark of the beast. You took that Social Security number, didn't you? Feed me, right? They closed down. They created the Great Depression, 1929, after the market crashed, Great Depression. Um, and the only thing what happened really was the banks decided to stop printing, stop handing out money, stop enforcing the Federal Reserve. It just stopped making money. But there was still the same amount of farmland. There was still the same amount of farm hands to do the work. There was still good roads. We had some of the best roads. There was still two oceans on our side to do commerce, to do business. What really? Why was there a Great Depression? Again, going back to that why. So, but again, with the 1933 Emergency Banking Act, uh, they created came out with the greenbacks. And what's so crazy is that was supposed to be money that the government was using. We're not even supposed to have them in our possession.
Mhm.
So when you're trying to figure out why does the debt keep going up every year? Why? What is that trillion dollar debt?
Yes.
To what has been taught to us, we have an understanding. Well, okay, every year the government get their tax money. By June, they don't spend that tax money. Then they borrowing money back from the reserves, the treasury. So that's where the debt is coming from. So a lot of us think that's where that debt comes from. But the debt comes from is since these greenbacks are no longer supported by the gold standard,
Mhm.
it's not U.S. currency. Um, for us, buying a car, buying a house, we are actually enemy of the state because these are debts, and we're using debts to clear debts. Well, how does a debt pay off a debt?
Doesn't.
It doesn't. That debt is just piling up. So we're actually enemy of the states creating this huge deficit. So again, that's just one example of like one of the many lies that has been taking place for quite some time. And my freedom papers is just like, I want to, at the end of the day, not be a part of a system that and again, I'm not going against the system. And that's what's so weird. It's not bulking up against the system.
You're using the system for its intended purpose.
We exactly perfect, right? So let me stop using greenbacks because I'm noticing that is actually increasing the deficit. So
stop using bank accounts. Use trust.
right. So and then we all get bills in the mail. At the bottom of these bills are coupons. When we go to the grocery store with coupons, like it's a perfect clear understanding. Buy two juices, get a third juice free.
Mhm.
So it has a monetary value,
Mm.
right? But do we send that coupon with that bill back to the company that sent that bill to say, hey, I want to use my coupon to pay?
Mm.
Why did you use the coupon? Coupon has value.
Right.
Did you assume the value of that coupon?
People don't know how to access the value of the coupon.
And it's called A4V. We accept for value. I accept this coupon for its value for the amount that's written up there. So there you go. Bill paid. No greenbacks. I use my coupon.
Mm.
So little things like that is just like, again, I'm not telling the people to rebel against the empire, rebel against the government.
Don't. You're not telling them not to pay your taxes.
I'm not telling you not to pay the taxes. The only thing I'm telling you is just understand the system and do accordingly to the system.
Mm.
So this is not a rebellion. It's just understanding how it is written and how many are using it, but the masses are not.
And that's what I want to emphasize is everybody that don't know, right? So far that I've experienced, all want to. If you see, I hate to use this example, but somebody like Trump, he know the games. I can't be mad at him. This is a obvious flawed individual, right? Right, to say the very least.
You want to catch us at the bar together.
Right. You know what I'm saying? He say all types of crazy stuff, but I respect him because he's telling the truth.
He being him.
Yeah. I can respect him being him, but I don't respect your truth is not the truth.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Go ahead, bud.
But his understanding of how to use the system. I mean, this man got over 400, and he's still not locked up. He's still a candidate for president. You know what I'm saying? Not emphasizing that I'm emphasizing the fact that he knows the system
He
and
filed
uses it.
bankruptcy like 7 or 10 times or something like that. He know how to clear away debt.
And everybody is applauding him, right? But you take somebody like you and say, hey, and it's like, no, you gotta be a criminal. It's gotta be something that you're what? Like, no, I just want the system. I'm using the system. Nah, dog, we ready to lock you up. For
But
what?
but the thing is,
Right.
to speak on Utley point, you got to know exactly what you're doing because they waiting on any type of snags.
For
They
example,
catch.
like the biggest thing that catches a lot of people in trouble, look at all the big criminals that
Taxes.
taxes, Capone,
Yep, IRS.
you know what I mean? So what people fail to realize or just don't even know, and this is just done intentionally, is that every post office in the United States of America and beyond is owned by the Queen of England,
Hmm.
right?
Somebody work for the Queen.
Well, I think it's King Charles until the new queen is made known to the world. But ideally, stamps,
Hmm.
and they haven't changed the Stamp Tax Act since 1893. And what's crazy is that when you look at it, it's the monetary value that still applies today. So let's say, because things were way less expensive in that day. So let's say that some of these laws says that when you're spending something 10,000 plus requires a 50-cent stamp. This is a longer conversation, but we talk about this. So if I do a security, because that's the only reason that banks should exist is for them to be what we call transferring agents.
Hmm.
You have a TDA over here, your Treasury Direct account. The only thing banks are supposed to do, because banks have the medallion stamps and they have monetary value of what these stamps represent. Various colors, it means various amounts. But they need to stamp our security and then invest that into our Treasury Direct account, right? So that's the only thing banks are needed for. They are stamped. So when you create the security and you send it in, you got to pay taxes to the Queen. So knowing how much the right stamps to put on that lets them know that you've also not only paid through a security, but also you paid your taxes on that security.
Mm.
So when people are not paying their taxes, technically the only tax that exists is the tax that hits the post office, and the Queen gets her cut.
The IRS is not part of the federal government either.
IRS was set up with Abraham Lincoln, the 1040V. I know it's not what it means, but I'm saying it. The V is voluntary. It's a voluntary tax that if you pay it because you feel it's necessary, the IRS is not going to reject the check. They're going to be very happy with it, but that is a voluntary tax that does not apply to the real world. So that's why when you look at these corporations who don't pay tax, Amazon make billions of dollars. People pay $0 in tax because again, if you look under the legal law what the United States mean, you can Google this. Cornell law. What is the United States? They'll show you that the United States is a federal corporation. So America is set up. That's why I go into the conversation with my daughter about entrepreneurship, corporations, capitalism, being a capitalist. If that's how your country, but a company is operating, then you also talked about this here as well, talking about expansion for your plan for next year. And this popped in my head when you said that. But when you think about these gurus, taught these big corporations, when they become just like a kid, when you go through your growth spurt, even though we keep saying Kwon is growing every time we see him, but when you get to a certain height, you don't grow no more. Companies get like that too. Companies grow to the point where they can't grow no more. What do when they reach that height? They expand out. What do when we stop growing? We expand out, right? We don't grow like this no more. We grow like this, right? So
acquisitions,
so
buying companies.
So when you talk about when you go to all these websites, affiliated marketing, at the bottom of all these pages, you could become part of Walmart's team. You could become a part of Amazon's team. Amazon will help you set up your own little, you know what I mean, and you got your own little trucks and your own little team thanking you, you know what I mean. But that's what they decided to do. So that's why I want to say this to a lot of people: when you go into a business conference, even though you feel like you're small potatoes in a room full of sharks, no, they are there to hear what you got to say. They don't reach the top. They're now, as a company, is now learning how to expand. What is going on the ground level? I need to hear from you. I need to hear from you. I need to hear from you. What ideas you have? Because so therefore, like I said, don't ever feel like you're small potatoes. That one little idea that you have could be life changing for a corporation. Could be life changing for your family. So it kind of goes into a lot of things that you speak on, Brother Pratt, which is to know your worth. You know what I mean? You got to understand the power in your uniqueness, the power in the way you think. You know what I mean? You see things that other people don't see it that way. And that's not to make anybody feel estranged or the weird or, I'm different. At some point in time, you'll see why you see things that way. And if you keep, like you say, if you keep feeding and fostering into it, you spoken this, but I thought about this when you were speaking too. It's just like, so I say this quite often, is that because really that is the whole meaning of this life, is because we got an emotional state, right? So therefore, free will, and we got a filament of accomplishment. We got a feel of hurt. We got a feel of like. So in this emotional state, what's important in this part of our life is know your purpose, and then setting up the venue to showcase it. And especially for us men, that's really our. If there had to be a T-shirt to break down manhood and the way we should be rocking, it's just that. Know your purpose. Now, showtime, right? So,
and I want to say, with everything Utley's speaking about, not financial advice, and do your research on it too, because when
educational purpose only.
Exactly, yeah. But do your research, man. Learn about, because even with me being in the space that I'm in, he brought some information to me, and I was like, hold on, man, this making, because I had a why question that when I was going through, I guess, against my licenses, I was like, man, why is it working like this? So how is it set up like this? And then he brought some information. I was like, oh, maybe that's why. And you know what I'm saying? So just make sure you all do your own research and everything. But definitely, it's something you want to look into, really.
I just looked up the United States and Cornell law. It definitely says it's a federal corporation.
Yeah.
Can you be a citizen to Walmart? Or are you just a simple customer?
Hello.
You a customer at Walmart. Now, well, we gotta make sure we get the trade part too.
Yeah, we gotta hear, brother.
We gotta make sure we get the trade.
It's a lot in there. What I would like to say is, I learned that I do not like debating. I truly don't like proving what I know. And I don't know if that's like a selfish thing, to where it's like, I know that I don't mind teaching and educating, but as far as debating and you trying to prove wrong what I know to be right,
well, you can just stay ignorant on your own.
That's where I be at.
That's me.
That's where I be at, and I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Like
you know what I mean?
You'll see. You'll see.
Right.
Just stick around long enough.
I'm like, hey, go
You'll
ahead
come
and do your
around.
thing. Yeah.
You'll come around.
Like,
What I'm
okay,
saying.
so you haven't experienced what I've experienced. Okay. I honestly don't want you to because that shit was tragic. But if that's what you need to understand, then I'm here for you once you get there.
That's what make Utley so special too.
Right.
I'll be hyped about that. I can't wait for Utley to get in these debates. I already told him.
Right.
But see, I'm gonna let you know how I feel about the debate, though. I didn't want to give this away, but this is in the words of Grandmaster Teacher Ancestor John Henry Clark. It's just that I only debate with my equals. All others I teach.
Yeah.
So most times when I'm in an arena, I got on my teacher hat. You know what I mean? So I don't have the feeling like I don't get angry like we're going back and forth over because a lot of times it's just like I have on my teacher hat.
Yeah.
And I know whatever you're going to come to me, I have been through all of that. But at the end of the goal is to get you on the next step. Because sometimes it's only going to be like a phrase. I don't know which phrase it's going to be. It's going to be a question. I don't know which question it's going to be. But I got to air it out to help you get that one seed in you that's going to challenge everything that you're thinking. And then, therefore, you got to go to the next step. Like I was listening to this great talk this morning, talking about the first thing that human beings praised was the black woman.
Hello.
Right?
Interesting.
So you can look into the teachings in Islam. Again, these are educational purpose only. I please recommend do your own research. But Allah is a feminine deity. Right? So when they go through their phrase, because a lot of people they speak the phrases in Arabic, but really haven't studied the Arabic language.
Right.
And linguistics and all of this is very important.
Language.
True.
Right? RMH. Technically, those who are saying the ritual, they know what I'm referring to. It is the word meaning the womb. So
Say what is it?
RMH.
R.
Ramah.
Okay.
It in Arabic technically means the womb. Right? So when you think about male and female, when you hear the word womb, what comes to mind? Right? When you look at a mosque, you know, the Jewish, like it's like a breast. And the little piece at the top is like a nipple. Right? So when you talk about one of the names that goes for God, El Shaddai, right? It's, you know, teeth, a nipple or a knob, and hands. So when you put that, so that's Hebrew language. So when you talk about the Hebrew language, it's more similar to and I know why, but I don't want to get into that too deep. But it's very similar to Kemetic, and all of that is the hieroglyphs or the meta nature pictures. So if you just keep looking at those pictures of teeth, a nipple, and hands like this, what is that image portraying for the most part?
Sucking a tit.
Right? Breastfeeding. Right? El Shaddai. Right? So, and then, you know, when you talk about even in ancient Egypt, you know, Kemetic, when you go to, well, let's go to Ethiopia. They say that's the oldest form of Christianity, the Coptic. You know, this the Ankh, but on the Ankh is a black woman with an afro. The Pope. Who does the Pope kisses the feet of? The Black Madonna with the baby, right? So it's just like, and they can repaint that all they want to, but the name still says Black Madonna. They're doing some refurbishings right now to some of these paintings, saying that no, she wasn't black. It's from the incense burnt, that soot that made her black. But anyway, the name is still Black Madonna. We'll work around that one. But anyway, so
Mm.
I say all of that to say it's just that we when you want to get into a conversation, a debate, I like to call them, and I enjoy them. It's just like uh, something like that needs to be probably shared about, their belief system, and then look it up for yourself, research, and trust me, new information is painful.
Yeah.
Anything new is scary.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I don't spend many nights crying over this stuff, but I'm over it now. So I don't work through that. And so again, I feel what you're saying though, because again, debating is not for everybody. And again, I don't even view a lot of debates that way. Matter of fact, I'll be looking for the opportunity to be quiet. I want somebody to silence me because then I can take off my teacher hat and put on my student hat.
Yeah.
Because I love to learn just as much as I love to teach.
That's where I be at. And most of the ones that, they say the loudest one in the room. Most, and it's that also, I was taught not to play chess with a pigeon.
I
You know,
got you.
um, so yeah, man, but it gets rough for me because I'm also emphasizing communication. I have to reiterate in myself that part of communication is knowing when not to talk. Just that's right. And I do become passionate, emotional, whatever when somebody is outright wrong about something, and it's like and it's more so because I want better for you in this moment than you want for yourself.
Mm.
Mm.
And it's like, bro, like, you know what I mean? Like, I
You can't want it more for them though.
I
That's why
know.
you able to disconnect and say, "You got it.
you
You
got.
got it."
That's why I need to disconnect to say you
Yeah.
got it.
You know what? It's easy for me because I feel like, yo, I guess you know what you want more than I do.
Right.
You know what I'm
You're
saying?
better off knowing what you know. The only thing about the debating, Utley, that is that I am a little weary of is just like when we run into the equivalent of the Pharisees. You know, when we run into them as far as this movement is concerned, and when they desire, when it becomes top priority for them to try to silence you or anyone else who is, a part of this. You feel me? And it's just like,
Because again, now you got to choose your battles, right? Because I like to think about this. I heard this and it was so profound. Do you think Harriet Tubman would continue to move north if she thought that white supremacy would never come to an
mm, mm,
because if she thought it would never come to an end, would she have made that first step in the first place? Like, this is
It's
never going to
pointless.
change.
It's
It's pointless.
That's why our strongest feature of melanated people is our resiliency. Because we know right from wrong. And it's like, yo, like, I can't sit back and just accept wrong at all. You know what I mean? Like, I can't accept it.
So, like, for example, like, if I was thinking that government would never come to an end, and that's kind of like my thinking now, like, government is going to never come to an end. I got a feeling that, for the most part, people will always think of a necessity of somebody making a decision on their behalf
Mm.
and to divvy out things properly according, because that's how like government came to exist in the first place. We was working the fields, we had all this grain. So then we was weary of other tribes coming in and to steal the grain. So a military was needed to protect the grain from outsiders, right? Then you need a government. So I can't have all this grain. So if we had a granary to put all this grain into, we need somebody to be the administrator over that grain. And I have my receipt of how much I put in there. So when it's time for me to come get my portion or whatever I want to get out from my portion, you give that out accordingly.
Mm.
So I think we will always have that need of military warriors and a structure to be overlooking and making decisions for the masses and trying to keep things accordingly according to see it like for example like from the movie The Woman King. The purpose of the king in many of us is totally different. So from an ancient African standpoint, the king was not a power figure in a sense of because first of all, a king could not just declare war. He had to get the women's approval, right? And if the women approved in the tribe that yes, that's worth going to war for, the king made a decision. But the king was not there to be an individual, not to speak for himself. The king's responsibility is to be the ancestral voice amongst the meeting. So everybody who, different tribe members making their decisions, one individual has to say, well, that's just not our way. That's not the way our ancestors would want things to be.
Mm.
So you always had to have a person to represent the ancestral voice in whatever decision we're going to do as a clan, a tribe, right? So
The top discerner
yeah,
in regards to their knowledge of the ancestral wishes
yeah.
or desires.
And I look about like how a little off the topic, but how like Akon is building those cities in Africa right now, and two guys that was giving him this particular interview was saying, "Man, we just keep hearing how it's hard to do business in Africa." And it's like it's because you're trying to do business in Africa like you're doing business in
In
America.
America.
See, in America, if I want to start a business, I don't got to go to the government. I just gotta fill out this application, call to get this free EIN number. Like I don't gotta. If I want to open up a shop, I don't gotta go through the government. I don't gotta talk to the ancestors. I don't gotta talk to the elders. I go out and just fill out the application.
Right. You don't got to be moral in anything.
So in Africa, they don't have that middle structure between the king and the people. So Akon said, so what I had to do was first go talk to the elders in these tribes of where I want to build these cities. And the only thing the elders were concerned about was farming. So I had to show them, yeah, we're going to have a farming agriculture sector of the city. And over here, we're going to have the business, the corporate sector of the city. So yes, not only am I going to have jobs related to agriculture and farming, I'm bringing more jobs in this sector. So the elders was like, cool. So then he then can take that approval of the elders to the president, and the president was like, hey, well, you don't got the approval of the elders because again, they still respect the elders per se. I'm not saying that we don't, but it's still part of their structure, their organization, the way things move. So yeah, again, that goes back to again just how we just make not saying which one is better, what that is good, that's bad, we good, they bad, bad, good. But it's just there are going back a little bit to the freedom papers, the only thing that I'm really trying to institute that a lot of people don't even feel like they have an option. And to your point where yes, so many movements are silenced and But again, back to the story of Harriet Tubman, if she felt that slavery would never come to an end when she had took that first step, uh, if I am not seeing this becoming a trend that people are actually making this move and knowing the alignment of the stars that we're leaving the age of Pisces and going into the age of Aquarius, age into the know, and people are waking up. People are getting hip to this, whether they saw it on TikTok, whether they saw it on Instagram, Facebook. Uh, so there is a movement in place. And whenever there's a movement, I always like to always go back to this basic question. You know, what side
You want to be on?
you're gonna be on when history tells the story?
Hello.
So I feel like this movement is already in place, and I just made the conscious decision to choose my side, and however I am remembered, I just which side of the fence was I on.
Right.
So, and we talked about that a little bit earlier too, like to overcome that fear of death, like that that was a big thing that I cried over quite often when I was learning this
Right.
and taking my initial steps in my spiritual journey was a lot of my life. Needed to take a break for lunch. A lot of my life, when I look over it, was guided by this fear, was guided by death, and I was just like, wow, I've given death so much power over my life that I was just like, I'm ready to start living.
Mm.
Whatever that is, that's my spiritual journey. My spiritual journey is life. You know what I mean? And everything that life offers, yes, I'm gonna be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like I had to get my mind ready for a movement to even be comfortable to use that word
Right.
associated with my name. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah. So
Of course.
I never really had a fear of death. I've always had more of a fear of change. What would this change?
mm,
You know, I'm not afraid of meeting if there is a heaven or hell and God is a decider, is the judge. I look forward to talking to you. Right? Let's review my life. Let's look.
I got some wise,
Yeah,
some wise questions. to ask.
exactly. Exactly. I don't mind that. I'm comfortable with that. How I may go, I do ponder that every now and then. You know, I want to go. I was I'd be damned if I got bit by a rabies chihuahua and it's like, yo, he didn't survive. Yeah, I
He
did.
died from a chihuahua.
You know what I mean? I don't want that, but I'm not afraid of that. You know what I'm saying? Whatever happens, happens. I never had a real fear of death. I've always had more of a fear of change. How would this affect the people around me? And how has other people's death affected me? You know, it's the change. I now, when I think about, what I don't like about death, it's never that the person is like dead. You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, I can't call you no more. Maybe I missed this opportunity now. You know what I'm saying?
And that changed things.
That
Right.
changes
That
things.
changes things.
Hmm.
In regards to me and fear of death, I would say I'm finally getting to a place in my life where I'm actually really enjoying living, like you were talking about. And so I definitely, I'm trying to stay away from it. I don't want to die no time soon. I spent a whole lot of my younger years of my life sort of
Avoiding.
well, no, just like I don't want to necessarily say wishing, but inviting death. For whatever reason, when I was real young, and my mother would be able to attest to this. It was just I would tell her like not want to be here anymore. Like I'd rather not be here. I don't want to deal with what life is throwing at me right now. I'd rather not be here and not have to endure this. And for many, many years of my life, I felt that way through elementary, going to middle, going into high school. You know, I just had this sort of apathy about me, just not really being concerned whether I was here or gone. You know, so finally in my adulthood, uh, going back to just purpose, being able to find purpose and just being able to learn other things, learn that what it is that they told us life was. There's more to it than that. You know, there's uh, what actually is, what it actually supposed to be about. Now that it is that I have that knowledge, it's like I want to be here. I want to be here. I want to contribute to this. I want a legacy. You know, so yeah.
And I think you're doing it. I think we all are doing it. And I try to give guys grace because we all want this legacy, not realizing that people remember you and your value, the impact that you had on just one person. That is legacy. I still remember. I may not remember your name. I may not remember. Like I still remember what I felt from whatever contribution that you had. So your legacy lives on through me, even if it's a. We have all of these one-on-ones with strangers, right? I told y'all about this guy that I was going through a midst of whatever, and I'll get into that spill. Uh, I was going through a midst of whatever, and I came across this one guy randomly. He was never, never seen this person and never saw this person again. I remember you clearly. You know what I'm saying? I remember you clearly. I remember the conversation we had, the questions you asked me. So your legacy is going to continue. It's more so the ideology of what you see for your legacy. So I like when I hear guys speak, and I got this up myself too. Legacy more so goes into the ego because I need to be on that. I need to be in that section. I need to be on. You know what I mean?
Have a statue up.
I need to have a statue.
I need my statue.
I need my statue. This building is contributed. Oh, you got a road named after him. Now we got a whole. What is this name? You know what I'm saying? I want all that accolation. You know what I'm saying? Give me that. All that shit. But uh, for real, you just being you is building the legacy. You know what I mean?
And to speak on that legacy, going into the fear of death, to make it quick, because I want to hear Trey's story and everything about this shit. But I had a fear of losing my loved ones and the people that was around me. And I know it was a period from, I say, maybe like 2012 to about 2017, 18, where every New Year's I would cry like uncontrollably. Cause it's like you say, like that time thing was really big for me. Cause like, yo, like, man, my parents getting older, and it just was a pressure that was put on me. And so every New Year's, I would cry like the gunshots go off and like trigger somewhere. It was like, dang man, oh, it's a new year, man. Somebody gonna go. You know what I'm saying? Somebody gonna go.
Dang.
You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't worried about me going,
Right.
but it's like, yo, somebody gonna go. Like every year, I know it, like, cause it's guaranteed. So I was crying. It was like I was getting my tears out in advance for something that I didn't even know what was gonna happen. Living in that fear, you know what I'm saying? And my ex-wife can attest to it. She seen me and she was like, "Yo, Paul, what is wrong with you?" And I couldn't really explain it, but it's like, yo, like things gonna change this year, like that change word. But to me, it was a fear of that. And what broke me out of it is when my grandmother passed, and it was just like dealing with that death. The fact that that's the first one that actually like really hit close to home, and like my grandmother was like a second mom to me for real. When that happened, I got this thing about once you face the fear and you realize, oh, it's not so bad. It's like I didn't have that fear no more. You know what I'm saying? Like when my grandmother passed, like yeah, I cried for a long time, but once I guess changed that relationship where it's not now I can't call you. It's like, yo, you here with me all the time
All the
now.
time.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Once I kind of made that switch, it took that whole fear off the table for me. You know what I'm saying? Where I ain't cried since then. You know what I'm saying? But it just was I had to face that fear, and it's like it's unfortunate, but I'm kind of glad it happened that way, where it made me realize it took that fear of losing my loved ones to more of a like, and me and Utley was talking about like that balance of learning how to continually get better with showing appreciation and getting better with managing your time to make sure that we can do it all. You know what I'm saying? We might not be able to do it all the time,
Right.
but we can get everything we want to get done.
We
We just got to figure out the way we got to do it.
Right.
Because that's a and that's an old. I think we all experience this in the corporate America scene. Like they said, the more you put on people, it's just weird enough they always get it done.
Yeah.
So I used to have to tell my staff sometimes to not get things done because once the impossibility gets accomplished, then the impossibility now becomes the norm.
Meet them
Becomes the
expectations.
standard.
So you try to meet that. You keep trying to meet them expectations. It can keep that list gonna get longer.
Yeah.
That checklist to get done by the end of the
And
day.
that took a burden off me. You know what I'm saying? Because I think we all kind of go through it. Like I was a hooper, and I mean, as crazy as it sounds, you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to the NBA.
Right.
First thing on my mind, I'm gonna buy my grandma a house. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm already thinking like, yo, when I get money, it's going to everybody else.
Exactly.
And it was just like when she passed, I felt so disappointed in myself. I couldn't give her the life that she wanted. But then it's like I say, man, it's just a perspective shift. She wanted me to be the best me I could be. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't about the gifts or what I could do for her. It's about what can you do for yourself. You know what I'm saying? How can you be the best version of yourself? How can you get yourself to that certain point? Because if I get myself to a certain point, everybody else gonna be good. You know what I'm saying?
This is what I was talking about when I said women pay more attention to men than men pay more attention to women. I was talking about this in a relationship sense, but that is keen as well because we so focused on external, right? That it's been times that my wife did it this morning. She did it this morning where it's like, how do you tell me about me? How did you do this? Right? Like somebody your connectivity. Like women pay more attention. And I say, I think it is more natural for women to pay more attention because we can rely on external when it comes to like protection and stuff. We can protect ourselves more likely physically. Women more likely rely on observation. You know what I'm saying? Does it even look safe over there? Who is this character? A lot of times we're oblivious to that because if there was a fight to pop out, I could fight back. Got it. You know what I'm saying?
Regardless.
They can fight back, but a lot of times their strength don't match our strength in that sense.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they have to be a little bit more observative. I think it is that. But that's what I was saying. Like women usually pay more attention to the guy than the guy is paying attention to the woman. Why did the women leave me? It was a build up. It wasn't just this. It isn't just money. It was a build up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And after you didn't pay attention to her enough, like you said, they actually have the strength to break it off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Why is most divorces about women? Well, that's because they are paying attention. This is not healthy. This is not going nowhere. You're not serving me. You're supposed to be with me, right? We together, and you're not even listening to me. Damn, what am I here for? You know what I'm saying? Okay. Yeah, bro.
It's a mindset shit. It's a mindset shit.
When you was talking, I feel bad now that I did not speak on a dramatic event that took place, and I just got to recognize her and get it and bring it to light. She's always with me. When I was born my father had the name already picked out for me, and my aunt said no way.
What was the name?
The name he wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, she made sure that name never existed,
Okay.
never resurfaced.
That's right.
So my grandmother, 92 this year.
Shout out.
She only remembers really me and my stories. My mother's frustrated with it because sometimes my grandmother's going through early stage dementia that she lives with my mother and dad now. That sometimes she'd be like, my dad would go outside, she'd be like, who was that? Right? But every time I come there, it's immediately recognition. Hey, Robert. And she knows all the stories. So she was telling me this story not too long ago. She told me two stories. Like she said, yeah, when my mom and my aunt used to live beside each other, you had this basketball, and you always wanted to go next door to Aunt Connie. You always wanted to go to your aunt. When I was growing up, after church, if it's the summer, can I stay at Aunt Connie's? Yes. I think it wasn't even Hawaiian rolls at the time, but just those rolls.
Yeah.
Oh man, I know she had them, but at the same time, I just had this bond with my aunt from ages and events that has been shared to me now that I just don't remember. Right, like that basketball story, 2 years old. Right, but then even on the day of my birth, my biological father, who I've met maybe twice in my life, went to my aunt's house. And my grandma's telling me this story most recently. She was like, yeah, she was in there with this large knife cleaning fish. And he bust through the door and saying, the name is going to be this. And she said, my Aunt Connie just hit that knife, looked at him, looked at the knife, looked at him, and he just like walked out in frustration. Mm-hmm. And my name remained what my Aunt Connie wanted to name me. Mm. She also gave my brother his middle name. And that's where this kind of started. They threw her a retirement party, and my brother got up. He's good at speeches. Surprisingly enough, at family events, I don't make speeches. As much as I love to talk. So he got up and was like, yeah, my Aunt Connie, and tearful, she gave me my middle name. And then we taking family photographs in the hallway. And I was like, you gave Thomas his middle name? She's like, I also gave you your name. And I was just like, what? So, but the cool thing, because what you just said about this is what really brought this conversation out to light was when you said that your grandmother wanted you to be your better self, right? You used to tell me the story about like her leaving you, the birthday songs and the messages.
Man, yeah,
right.
I wish I still had.
And the thing about it was like it was always encouraging. And then when you was talking about wanting to leave this financial industry or complaining about the job, she was like, "Well,
I was going in this driving in the snow. I called her.
You took the job,
and
why
I was like, "Grandma, they got me driving in the snow on the way to work." She's like, "What you complaining about? Didn't you accept the job? If you accept the job, you do the job." So I almost feel as if sometimes the legacy that she was leaving for you was for you to be your better self. Mm-hmm. So whenever you go through your frustration, or a lot of times, it's she knew you enough to know that that was always going to bring you back to your place of peace, right? Mm. So now with me and my aunt, we shared a love of history. So my love of history comes from my aunt, because it was just like, hey, you talking about all this history and the family history, you need to talk to Aunt Connie. So we talk about this all the time. And when she was bed rest, maybe a week or two before her transition, I was there and she looked at me and she was like, Robert, you need to go in that room. There's a blue binder on the shelf. I think, you will love that. So I go in the room and I read, and it's like family history.
I want that.
I want that too.
Man, like she was born at the house and this, and it was just like,
oh my God.
now I'm up to like 7 generations of my family
Wow.
through this book. And I'm like, oh my goodness! I come out, she's already smiling. I'm starting to cheese, the hug, but we cried together, right? And it was almost like say, this was my legacy. You gonna pass this, and I knew this is where we connect. You're gonna keep this alive, and you're gonna keep it passed on, right? And so whenever, that's why my class, if you come into my class, it changed because when I used to just have like an image, and then it was gonna be the talking points and topics and subjects, and then we get into the lesson. But now I have that memorial board, and she's up there because I was just like, this love of history comes from you, and you want this to continue. And I'm already in a position where I am continuing something that, you know what I mean? So I got an even better connection with history and my family history. So, again, but I felt the way you was describing your grandma always talking about, you have these concerns, and she always knew you enough to tell you what you need to every time, right? So I get that, and I got that from my
even before because my grandma left me a voicemail before she passed too. It was like a week before she passed, and I wanted to get up with her, but she said she had to leave. But she said, "Don't worry, it's all right. We're gonna see each other next time or something like." It was something along that line. And then she ended up passing like a week after that. And but when I sit back now, I'm like, it's been time. I swear, I thought I heard her voice still. You know what I'm saying?
And you shared a story with me. If I could share that, that's okay
Go
with
ahead,
you.
go
But
ahead.
for her to say that, and now again, I put it together. But then when you talked about that route, what's that road from?
Oh, 460.
460, right?
Yeah.
You was talking about 460.
Mm-hmm.
You went there.
Shout out Welford. Shout out Welford.
And you went to a Hardee's.
Mm-hmm.
And how you order what you order, and then you order what she always ordered, and you say sometimes you had saw that, and I was just like, she had to live up to her promise, like you know what I mean?
And it was right. It was
crazy.
It was in the heart. It was right after I got in the first accident. I think last year, and I remember, man. Shout out brother Welford, man. I was talking to him. No, he randomly called me. Matter of fact, late at night, it was like 8, 9 o'clock at night. He gave me a random call, and I was just talking to him, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I was out in Waverly." But but it was like when he said Waverly, it meant something, but I didn't know what it meant though. But I was like, "Oh, Waverly, okay." It just like got my attention. He was talking about he like, "Man, I stopped in the Hardee's at Waverly."
I've been to Hardee's.
And I was like, Waverly, the Hardee's. And he was just talking again. I don't mean to like cut you off, but do this Hardee's got like a train? Is it like a train track right across the street from it? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, and when he was talking, I was just like, he talked some more, and I was like, man, I was like, well, I think he was meant to tell me this story, man. And he was like, wow. I was like, do you know that's when my grandma and my dad used to meet at to drop me off when I was younger, right? And I was like, and he was like, yeah, it was off of because he said something about 460. Then he said Waverly, and then he said Hardee's, and then it was just like, yo, let me ask you, like, is it? Because the only thing I remember is a train track right across the street from me. That's all I remember. Because I remember we used to sit down, she'd get chili dog, I'd get whatever I want, we look out the window, watch the trains go by. You know what I'm saying? It almost got me ready to tear up now, but you know what I'm saying? But we when he told me, I was like, man, because I hadn't been to Portsmouth since my grandmother passed. You know what I'm saying? It just felt like it wasn't no need for me to go back no more. You know what I'm saying? And when he told me that, it was like, yo, like, man, go just pay your respects again. You know what I'm saying? Like, pay your respects. So I think like a month or so after that, I drove out there. And it was crazy because the ex I just broke up with, I had met up with her at like First Watch, and I was telling her about what I was about to go and do. She like, yo, that's so dope, you should do that. And then I drove out there, and I ordered it. I remember, man, I ordered the chili dog, and then I think I just got like some fries, man. And there was nobody out there. It was a guy. He was talking he had like a cowboy jersey. You know, I'm messing with him with the Cowboys and stuff. But I get the stuff, man, and I get the fries, and I get the chili dog, and I just look out the window at the train tracks, and I was just like, thank you, man. I was like, thank you for the sacrifices you made for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't have to do that. You know, to be able to give my parents the space to be able to continue their education and stuff, to raise me like I'm your own. You know what I'm saying? Like, thank you. You know what I'm saying? That's all I can say, man. And so, just being able to pay that. And then I went back out there again, maybe like a week or so later. I brought my daughter out there, and I was just telling her about me and your grandma when I was your age, me granddad D and my grandma used to come here and they meet me here and everything like that, and we just sit and I'm just telling her about her, like you know what I'm saying, make sure she understand because she passed when my daughter was like maybe like a year old, so she don't remember it. So just making sure I pass that memory down to her. And even my daughter still bring it up. She see Hardy, she like, Daddy, is that the Hardy we said talking about? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, no, that's not the one, baby. You know what I'm saying? But it meant so much to me, man. And like Utley said, man, she just knew what to say. She just knew, you know what I'm saying, better than my mom, better than my dad. She just, you know what I'm saying, and you know, and my mom and dad is amazing. You know what I'm saying? But my grandmother, like, I think she knew me better than anybody. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And to be able to, she just knew how to pull those strings to get me to move. You know what I'm saying? And I know she's still with me because that spirit just pop in me sometimes where it just be like, yo, Paul, like, yo, get your butt up and stop feeling sorry for yourself. Like, that's why I can't just sit down and feel bad for myself. You know, that spirit, my girl would be like, yo, boy, I don't care if it's snowing or what. You said you got the job.
You said you was going to do it.
You got to get it done. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to my grandma, man.
That's something that is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Man.
And thank you for sharing that because all of that resonated with me. Recently, again, in the last 3 years, every fourth quarter, I start feeling out of touch. Why? Because I know those same people aren't around. The family aren't even talking about them the same way. And things have happened to where there has been detachment. And this year, especially, so much happened in the same time frame that I was like, yo, I'm looking for that spirit. I can't find it. I know it's in me, but I need her hug. I need his laugh. I need right now, right? And it's like, yo, like where are y'all? I try to get it from those I should be able to get it from in front of me, but those in front of me aren't they're not even here. You know what I mean? So what I've realized that I've been doing recently is what you call it, super conscious. I super consciously would just allow myself to go. I literally let the spirit guide, right? And when I come back to surface conscious, why am I in front of what used to be grandma's house? Right? Why, when I was just lost in thought, but on autopilot,
it take me there.
The uncle that I said, I didn't even realize how close I was with this uncle. They really my great aunts and uncles, but they was just aunt and uncle to me. There's 9 of them. You know what I'm saying? Why I didn't realize I was this close to this uncle. I took a picture where I had the same type of hair as him. And I took a picture beside him and I was like, I'm looking at me. And I just did not connect that at the time. You know what I'm saying? Last week, it wasn't this week, but last week, I'm working and I just so happened to pass by his old house. And I just stopped in the middle of the street. That's old house. As an adult, I'm looking at it. I'm like, yo, that's not even like a dope spot, but it's like so dope. You know what I mean? Like that's old house. You know what I mean? Coming across just stuff like that, just different type of markers in my life. That and I also believe that that ties into why am I, some of the things that you all said, it gave me clarity of why do I feel like I need to talk to my biological father, right? As an adult, I'm like I can't. We spoke about forgiveness the other day, yesterday, last night. You spoke about forgiveness, and it was like I can't. I think you said it. It's like I gotta give the attempt. Mm. You know what I'm saying? And then I can leave it at. I can be at peace whatever. There you go. You know what I'm saying? I can be at peace with whatever the result is, but if I never make the attempt, right, then I'm only hurting myself. There you go. You know what I'm saying?
There you go, man.
So why am I searching? And lately, dreams speaking to me as well. Lately, some of the dreams I've had and some of the like waking up, heart racing, I got the energy, I need to do this now. One of the things it was me drawing out the family tree. And one of the things that you pointed out, I think this was 2 years ago now. One of the things that you pointed out was most of us, black people in America, don't know you can't go 2 generations back. Mm-hmm. So I heard 7 generations. I was like, oh my God,
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. And another experience, because I know they're about to say something. Another experience I had was when my brother got cancer. Right, he got it from a house that was toxic. It became a toxic environment. One of the things that my mother, she basically became the bearer of information for the family, right? Unwanted, but that responsibility became hers. Mm. She kept everything in a trunk, old school, not a chest, not a suitcase. It was a trunk.
The one that got the handles on it, the lock in the middle.
Prepare to vacate meeting and study rooms in 15 minutes. The cash register located at the checkout desk will be closing in 15 minutes. If you need to add money to your library card for printing, paying fines, or taking care of other financial transactions, please go to the checkout desk in the next few minutes. Thank you.
You're welcome. One of them Jones that if absolutely nothing in it is still heavy as on the way.
Yeah.
One of them Jones. And resonates with why this is probably my favorite color combination. It's black and gold.
Yeah.
She had a chest of all of this stuff. Documentation, pictures, drawing, you know what I'm saying? Like old stuff. And I always told myself, like at one point, I want to sit down. I want this. I want this. I just know people are busy or whatever. But in that moment, I was like, we just need to get the fuck out of this house, and we don't need to take nothing with us because it got that bad. So I threw a lot away, and I watched my mama like get weak, crying. That shit hurt me. Weak, like crying, just looking at the door because I'm like, we should put it in the basement. And the basement got flooded, and then that's where a lot of the mold and stuff was at. And my brother used to chill down there. So she got weak with crying, just looking at the door, like I'm leaving all of that behind. And recently, like when I started having those dreams, recently I reached out to her and I told her I gotta apologize to you because I didn't realize how detrimental, how significant what I was willing to throw away. You know what I mean? And she told me, "Oh, don't worry about it. I recovered most of it."
Oh, she went back in.
But oh man, so I'm thankful for that. Yeah,
I still got both. I I still got both of my grandmothers here right now,
Mm.
and one I won't necessarily say she's the picture of health, but that resiliency that you spoke to, you know, she she's definitely a resilient woman. She's getting up there. Hey, I'm sure that she gonna watch this once it come out. She ain't gonna like that part too much. And then I got another who in August they diagnosed her with cancer, and she has been going through the treatments, and we trying to see her come out on the other side cancer free.
Right.
And I've expressed to both of them just how I want an opportunity to learn as much of my family history as possible. You know, however we gotta make it happen, whatever it is we gotta go through, whatever it is that we have to accumulate, whatever resources it is. Like I want that, you know. So
Yeah.
So like what happened with me to get things started is I think I probably shouldn't promote them as much as I could because it could probably lead to some endorsement deals. But I'm not going to disclose it. But the website that I share quite often, and I can get that to you. But it was a great first step.
Oh yeah.
Because with that first step, I began to pull. It's like actual documents, like birth certificates, death certificates, marriage license,
yeah, I want
census
I
reports,
want that.
and
Absolutely.
what happens with that afterward is I triggered something in my grandmother by saying, "Grandma, look what I got,"
Yep.
and she was like, "You got that?" She was like, and then the stories were coming, and then the only thing I'm doing, I just got the phone on record. So not only do I have her voice, but what's going to happen later on? Because not only do I want a family tree, but I also want documents to carry on the stories too.
Yes.
Oh, you remember this one time and Big John he did X, Y, and Z, and I fell out of a tree, and she talks about she didn't have a doll baby, so the little grass roots. She said, I one time remember as a little girl, I was in the tree and I was braiding the grass, on this, and I fell asleep and I fell out of the tree, and so stories like that, and Grandma, let's sing a song, and she was singing songs, so like I'm telling you, like that's like a recommendation for both, man, for everyone, just that you put it on record, and you go to this website, you have documents, man, that sometimes I'm just lost in that for hours, just like especially when you look at a census report. Um, there's all these little abbreviations, and come to find out, like what that means, they were four times. So like, okay, so my grandfather, great great grandfather, four time, but then his wife, that initial means she was only part time. She worked 20 hours or less. And it was just like, then how much money they made for the year? Because I think I was looking at one. It was like $150. And my question was that for the year?
Yeah.
And so so man, it was just so I'm starting to see and feel like what they're going through. I'm in that space and time. So this thing is just dope, man. So I gotta get that to you. So if you guys really want to do that, man, and build a family tree, let's go. Let's go. Yeah, because
I would say, man, because I don't want to take up too much time again, but I do have one grandmother, my only living grandparent, is her that I have a relationship with. You know what I'm saying? My biological grandfather, I don't really have a relationship with him. But my grandmother tell me all the time about how she grew up, and I'll take her to dialysis Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's normally story time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I know the stories about. She had a sister called Sister, and you know what I'm saying, like and all of this stuff, man. My grandfather had 456 acres of land at one point. All of this stuff, man. So what you having the opportunity, man, like you said, like just talk to them, just act like how I started with my grandmother was just like, yo, like how was it for you growing up? You know what I'm saying? Like how was it with your relationship with your siblings? How was your dad and your mom? You know what I'm saying? And then it took me back. I found out my great great it might be my great great grandmother was like white or something like that, and she the story is from what my grandmother told me is that white person can't have a black baby, so they gave the whoever my great grandparent was to a black family to raise. You know what I'm saying? So like that's what the story is. You know what I'm saying? And you got to think about it, that's been passed down 3 or 4 generations now. I'm like the third or fourth generation that's hearing that, and now I get to tell my daughter at some point and stuff like that. So that might just be like little things to help start that conversation too.
I love that. I love that.
All right, but it's Trey time now. We got about what?
Yeah, three minutes.
Where they kick us out?
It's alright. I told my story, my recap on the FMF page. I'm gonna check out the FMF. I really just wanted to. I needed this dialogue. You know what I'm saying? I did get fed up with the debating and like going back and forth on what I know to be right. And when you know it, you feel it. So I don't detach emotion. You know what I mean? Um, and I didn't want to stop that, but I didn't want to eschew my purpose as well. So I needed this. This brought me. We literally went through. You know what I mean? All types of like and revelations, and I done wrote 3 pages of stuff right here. You know, like for my own. You know what I mean? So I'm just thankful of you guys. I appreciate y'all, and I will upload this. I'm gonna cut this out, but I will upload this. But I also am more interested in divvying it up and giving you all your portions, so that y'all could this really could just be used to reflect.
Yeah.
You know, and big for you because this is literally what I've been like, yo.
Yeah, because I want you to air your portion first. I give you the respect for that, but I would love to. Yes, indeed. I need my.
We had like a solid hour for it.
I need that. Yeah. I need that.
And I'm sorry, I'm still with an emergency with my sister. They did get it situated while I was a kid, but that's why I was cutting out.
All is well. You know what I'm saying? There's no.
Everything good now?
Yeah, she all right.
Okay, good.
That's what I was more concerned.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I love you fellas. I thank you all. Look, just gonna keep on keeping on, boy.
Yeah.
Stop,
real quick, I guess we could plug our stuff, man. I got a Rebuild the Men brand here in Richmond, Virginia area. We doing major things, man, helping get our men straight to be able to get back to our community in the right way, and then create a big network where people can plug in and whatever resource they need, they got a place to go to, and we got those resources for you. So we got Rebuild the Men. We got that going every Friday from 6 to 7:45. We got our youth program.
Yes.
Saturdays we got our men's meeting, and then one Saturday a month we do a co-ed meeting. So we got that going on. I got something I'm gonna get ready to announce, so make sure y'all follow me on Instagram at Rebuild the Men, just exactly how it sounds. We about to go take Rebuild the Men on the road, so there's gonna be more information about that as well too. So
come through.
Yeah, man, and I still help with finances. Still life insurance, investments, all that stuff. I do help with that as well, but the main mission is Rebuilding Men now.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to plug in before they start talking?
I mean, I hadn't made a formal announcement yet, but I've known for the last couple of weeks that I was going to be bringing back my radio show on a different platform. So stay tuned. I'll go ahead and say which platform that is that I'll be on. But until then, follow me, the Kwonton Soup, Kwon spelled Kwon, the Kwonton Soup on Instagram. That's where it is. I make announcements. And I'm looking forward to getting back to my radio show. With a market on there.
That was definitely your call.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, man.
Given the history behind songs and everything, this week drops and stuff like that. Yeah, that was tough, man.
Yeah, so I want to get back to it by the end of this month. That's when I have everything together, and then we're gonna come in the new year starting strong. So I'm excited about that.
Yes, sir. That's what's up.
So you can check me out at Instagram at the Robert Utley Show, Utley. We are taking a break for the remainder of the year, but starting next year, we're going to be continuing our second course of ancient African sacred science. Um, that is going to be again course two, and all of this is really a three-part course. But we're going to be making this available online, so please stay in tune with me at the Robert Utley Show. Please DM me any concerns, anything that you want to be a part of, anything that you want to assist us with, because we'll be needing your support in getting a few of these projects started, but more than likely, the course will be available by April of 2024, if not sooner. But just stay in tune and definitely keep you up to date on things as we progress. And MLM is the organization. Also, I just launched the Doc Rob's free digital book club. So you can also just uh, send out questions, concerns, or how you can be a part of that. How can you join? Setting up the landing page for that right now. That'll be available by the end of this coming week. But in the meantime, reach out to me at the Robert Ellie Show.
Yeah. If y'all want speaking engagements too, man, y'all make sure y'all hit him up about that too, man. He's a natural public speaker for what he's talking about, man.
Thank you.
Much love.
Gotta say the best for last too, man.
Much love. The people know me. Stay tuned with me. Definitely follow FMF Podcast. Definitely bring some gems and jewels there, some information, some education. Also with AIM, always improving the mind. For next year, with everything that I got going on, I'm going to be more intentional about the actions that I take instead of just being intentional about taking action. Right?
That's a bar.
That's
a bar. I like that.
And yeah, so I'm not going to announce what I'm going to start the year off with, but just be ready. Just be ready. And I look forward to building with you guys and anyone who's out there that wants to connect with any of us. All of us have something to offer. All of us want to connect with you. Don't hesitate. It's nothing but a conversation.
Yeah.
And I appreciate everyone. Much love.
All right, peace out.